Part 40. Participating in a love show, this little guy is too down to earth. Author, Buletin Shi Swan Shi Shui Xian. Chapter 397. When he returned to China, it was the end of the year, and it was still the coldest winter. It was said that Gu Huiyan had a deep impression of winter in the past few years. They said that celebrities and entertainers always fly around the country for their work, but he didn't know if it was true in recent years. Coincidentally, winter is always in the north. Except for a vacation to Hainan with Pei Jingshu and her family last year, I basically never go to any place that doesn't require wearing a thick coat in winter. Gu Huiyan, who had been busy touring abroad for a year, was finally able to rest for a long time after returning. He was approached by the Spring Festival Gala in the first half of this year, but he knew very well that he didn't have much time, so he didn't sign the confidentiality agreement. When I learned that he was back, my home has been quite lively recently. Many friends in the capital have asked him to get together. It's the New Year's Eve again. Gu Huiyan's focus would definitely not be on the end-of-year party. After a few days of rest, he set off for Suzhou. When going to Suzhou, he must go to Pei Jingshu's parents. Although he has been busy with work in the past 2 years, Gu Huiyan will basically go there whenever he passes by. After this overseas tour, Gu Huiyan brought back a lot of things. When he got home, he unloaded a cart full of gifts. Maybe Pei's father and Pei's mother don't lack many of them, nor have they never seen them before, but that is Gu Huiyan's wish after all. Whether they lack them or not, and whether you take them or not, are completely different things. Do you think there is a shortage of gifts given by relatives when visiting relatives during the holidays? There is no shortage. So can you go empty-handed? Definitely not. Gu Huiyan, it was because of this sincerity that he made Father Pei and Mother Pei very happy. Now, the two elders also regard Gu Huiyan as their biological son. This is nothing unusual. The main reason is that Gu Huiyan has been at home more than Pei Jingshu in the past 2 years. This old man is very caring. He basically goes to nearby events in Shanghai, Jiangsu, and Zhejiang, and comes to the house at night to disturb her. Come on, I never come empty-handed, and I'm never idle when I get home. I basically help cook the dishes, cut fruits with Pei's mother, drink tea, and play ball with Pei's father. He should regard this place as his family. After a long time, Pei's father and Pei's mother really regard him as his family. She and Pei Jingshu have not yet obtained a marriage certificate, so they are basically no different from one family. One time when Pei Jingshu and Pei Ya came back, they were surprised to find that instead of calling them sisters after washing the fruit, they called Gu Huiyan to taste it first, making the two sisters look like outsiders. Speaking of which, Gu Huiyan's visit here is different from before. When she came here for the first time, Pei Jingshu felt that she didn't know Gu Huiyan anymore. He was so honest and obedient, and he had the image of a good son-in-law. As time went by, it gradually became casual. A few times when I got home and I was hungry, I would go to the kitchen and rummage in the refrigerator to eat. Not to mention Pei's father and Pei's mother, even some nearby neighbors Gu Huiyan are almost familiar with them. A few uncles saw him and asked him to play badminton or something like that. It's New Year again, and it's coming soon. Father Pei is a little busy. He has been on a business trip these 2 days. Mother Pei and the nanny are the only ones at home. Gu Huiyan has nothing to do, so he might as well stay here for 2 days to accompany him. Accompany aunt. I called Pei Jingshu yesterday and she said she should be back after finishing her busy work these days. When Jingshu comes back, let her accompany you home. One afternoon, Pei's mother made 2 cups of coffee, sat on the small balcony on the 2nd floor, wrapped in a grey shawl, and told Gu Huiyan like this. People say that time never defeats a beauty, and this is best reflected in Pei's mother. Even though she is over 50, her figure is not out of shape, and her skin is still fair, but she may be missing some collagen, but who can let her human bones are beautiful, so even if the skin is broken, what should be beautiful will still be beautiful. It's worth mentioning that Pei's mother's hair is really good. Generally, when people reach this age, even if they don't lose their hair, their temples will turn white. She is just the opposite. She has beautiful black hair and a pretty good hairline. She casually adds a hairpin to the back of her head, which makes her look quite meticulous. To make a person look younger, he still has to look at his hair. Hey, it's okay, don't worry, let her stay with you and your two elders first. Gu Huiyan held half of a sugar orange in his mouth and peeled another one in his hand. He not only peeled off the outer skin, but also carefully peeled off some of the white threads inside. After peeling it off, he handed it to Pei's mother. He seemed very casual, but also very upright. Heartwarming. Mother Pei shook her head slightly moved. Gu Huiyan has been at home for almost a week, and he came just a few days after returning from the tour. This makes Pei's mother feel embarrassed, because Gu Huiyan didn't go back to his home after returning from abroad, and came here directly. They are quite satisfied with the son-in-law. You, please take the initiative. You said it's been another year for you too, how many more years are you going to delay? Pei's mother spoke to Gu Huiyan in a very considerate tone. Those who didn't know what she said really thought that Gu Huiyan was his biological son. Speaking of Pei Jingshu and Gu Huiyan, Pei's mother was quite helpless. Neither of them had proactive personalities. They seemed to be waiting for the other to take the initiative in major life matters. In fact, it was somewhat inappropriate for the girl's parents to say this, but there was nothing they could do, both parents were worried. In the blink of an eye, the two of them have been in love for almost 5 years. Even if they are not measured by ordinary people's standards, even from the perspective of celebrities, it is time to consider major life events. Neither of them are young anymore. They are already married at the very moment. What's the matter, do they really want to get married in their 30s? If you talk about career, both of their careers have grown steadily in the past 2 years and are now becoming stable. The company is also developing well and has basically stabilized. Is there any reason not to hurry up and worry about important life events? Okay. As for Gu Huiyan, he just smiled and dealt with it. In fact, he has been urged to get married once or twice. Not only Pei's father and Pei's mother are anxious, but his mother is even more anxious. Every time Gu Huiyan went back, Gu's mother would always talk about so-and-so having a grandson and giving birth to a second child, and so on. If you're talking about others, just talk about Su Chao, who got married the year Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu broke up. That brother already had a second child, okay. Recently, even netizens on the internet are urging marriage. It's funny to say. Talking about the fact that the two of them are not married yet, some people made rumors for a while that Gu Huiyan didn't want to get married, which caused a lot of scolding, saying that he was irresponsible and so on. A girl's precious 5 years of youth were given away. You don't want to give others a home? Steamed shrimp heads. When Gu Huiyan's company saw this, of course they had to do public relations and tell everyone clearly that Gu Huiyan's attitude had always been very clear, but Pei Jingshu hadn't thought about it yet. Then came the funny thing. Netizens who realized the truth instead of blaming Pei Jingshu said one by one, "Sister Pei, just give him a title." In this way, I went to the comment areas of Pei Jingshu's major platforms. Gu Huiyan was depressed for several days after seeing those comments. He went to the company and scolded the people in the public relations department, saying that you guys are so good at rhythm. In fact, in their affairs, it was just like what Pei's mother said. Although there were voices urging them everywhere, they were always in no hurry. No one has mentioned these things to the other, and they are all enjoying their current lives. There is no such thing as one not giving the other a status. But be anxious, it is indeed time to be anxious. She was about to run away for 3 years at a glance. She couldn't just enjoy life. Time had passed and she was getting older. Did she really need Pei Jingshu to freeze her eggs? What a joke. Gu Huiyan can't really wait for the day he has a child before getting married. It was almost the end of January when Pei Jingshu came back, and the Chinese New Year was only 10 days away. After accompanying Gu Huiyan to his house, she went home to celebrate the Chinese New Year. Maybe it's because they have been to each other's houses for 2 consecutive years. This year they have become familiar with each other. It is worth mentioning that they attended several friends' gatherings this year, and some friends brought their children. Just think of Gu Huiyan's friends' gatherings. Basically, there is no one who doesn't bring their baby to attend. Babies love to cry, so just cry. Gu Huiyan was a little irritated, but he was too embarrassed to point it out. Pei Jingshu obviously saw it, but didn't say anything. At the banquet, friends would occasionally ask them what their plans were. Whenever this topic was brought up, they would remain silent or just deal with it. They actually had a tacit understanding. It was the 6th day of the Lunar New Year, and the small county town was quite lively during the Chinese New Year. There were people setting off firecrackers on the streets, and children occasionally threw some firecrackers for fun. Pei Jingshu was wrapped tightly, held Gu Huiyan's hand, and asked Gu Huiyan, "Don't like children crying?" "Well, it's not that I don't like it, it's mainly that it's a bit noisy." Gu Huiyan scratched his head. People who like to be quiet will probably get a little irritated when they hear a child crying. That is to say, they are bound by moral concepts, otherwise they will definitely be criticized. Then what if? Pei Jingshu's pretty face was slightly flushed, and she hesitated before saying, "Would it bother you if we had children?" "Of course not," Gu Huiyan replied without hesitation. "Pook." Pei Jingshu couldn't help laughing and complained about him. Double standards. Gu Huiyan shrugged. People are always like this. Other people's children are annoying, but their own children are very precious. Then do you prefer a daughter or a son? This topic had already been discussed, so Pei Jingshu asked. Daughter. Gu Huiyan didn't hesitate at all, but after finishing speaking, he pursed his lips and said. But people say that daughters follow their father and sons follow their mother, so actually sons are not bad either. Pei Jingshu was happy after hearing this. Wouldn't it be better for my daughter to let you go? What's wrong with you? Gu Huiyan also needs good looks, talent, and quality. As for her daughter, it depends on his personality, and Pei Jingshu has no objection. But it looks better as you wish. Gu Huiyan shrugged and said. Pei Jingshu was slightly startled when she heard this, and then she laughed dumbly. She couldn't help but lower her head and bury her chin in the scarf, a little shy. She is indeed too beautiful. There is no need for Gu Huiyan to declare this, the whole network knows it. But. Gu Huiyan then muttered again. But it's not good to follow you too much. What if I'm too handsome and become a scumbag in the future? He dares. At this point, Pei Jingshu showed a tutor that was not inferior to her mother's. Her tone was not serious, but a bit stern, and she said. I'll let you break his legs. You said it so harshly. I thought you were going to break his legs. Why don't you order me after a long time of fuss? Gu Huiyan couldn't help but roll his eyes. It seemed that he would definitely be playing the bad guy in the future. Pei Jingshu giggled. She was not the kind of person who liked violence. The two of them chatted like this and arrived home soon. At this stage, they are slowly getting used to this feeling. They may not be married yet, but they are no different from a family. However, the two of them still did not mention the matter of testifying. What's strange is that you said that the two of them have already thought about where to travel in the next year, but they didn't mention the matter of getting a certificate. Speaking of the new year, I have been busy this year. In the past 2 years, Gu Huiyan has not been as angry as in previous years, so he plans to take a rest next year. Find a place to travel and have fun after the new year. I traveled all over the country last year and I saw a few nice places and took note of them. But at the beginning of the year, I still want to go to a snow area first. After all, it is a place known as lack of oxygen but not lack of faith. The famous tourist cities in China are no worse than those in foreign countries. That is, Gu Huiyan still couldn't overcome the hypoxia issue. Do you have to go to Tibet? Before leaving, the assistant helped pack things, and Pei Jingshu asked Gu Huiyan slightly worriedly. If she remembered correctly, when she was recording Crystal Love Season in Yunnan and finally went to Jade Dragon Snow Mountain, Gu Huiyan had to take a breath after walking a few steps. Altitude sickness was quite severe. It was only a short climb, and we came down soon. It's different when entering the snow area. The average altitude there is more than 3,000 meters, and many scenic spots are 4,000 to 5,000 meters high. For people like Gu Huiyan, it's not certain whether he can come back. It's okay. I'll just have to adapt to the city for a few more days before going out to play. It doesn't matter. Gu Huiyan packed his things carelessly. This trip was accompanied by an assistant, and a friend also recommended a travel agency. It should not be a big problem. If you want to go there, people recommend driving by yourself, but the journey is really tiring, so it's better to rent a car somewhere else, and there doesn't seem to be any good accommodation on the road. Gu Huiyan didn't care, he mainly didn't want to make Pei Jingshu suffer. I originally heard someone say that taking the train to Tibet is the most romantic, but unfortunately they didn't buy a ticket. I had no choice but to buy a plane ticket. This is also the reason why Pei Jingshu is most worried. People say that the train entering Tibet will cause the human body to adapt to the plateau. If the plane flies directly from a low altitude area, it is easy for people to explode. Unfortunately, Gu Huiyan refused to listen and insisted that it didn't matter. Pei Jingshu had no choice but to ask her assistant to prepare more oxygen for him. That's all. In March of the beginning of the year, after the new year, they embarked on a journey to Tibet. Flying from Shanghai, the afternoon flight had a stop in the middle, and it was already evening when we arrived. The flight was a bit long, and Gu Huiyan fell asleep so drowsily on the way that he thought he had gone abroad. It is worth mentioning that except for the sleeping time, Gu Huiyan was quite lively most of the time. He chatted with Pei Jingshu at the airport before taking off, and it was a unique feeling to go somewhere and breathe the air of the plateau area. But this situation continued until we took the car to the city, and it became different. Originally, when he got off the plane at the airport, Gu Huiyan said that the legendary altitude of the plateau was not that exaggerated. What was said on the internet was indeed an exaggeration. But when he took the car to the city, he felt his heartbeat speeding up and his ears ringing. This old man didn't take it seriously. He went to have a meal of yak hot pot here in the evening, and also looked at the night view of the Buletin Palace. He was very capable. On the road, they would occasionally meet passers-by who recognized them, and some asked for photos. Since they were out having fun, Gu Huiyan basically never refused. A little later, many people posted news, so many people on the internet knew that Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu had come to Tibet to play. There are still many people discussing, saying that Gu Huiyan has time to take Pei Jingshu out to play, so why not think about how to manage Sister Pei to get a status? After spending a night wandering around, when she returned to the hotel, Pei Jingshu noticed that something was not right with Gu Huiyan, mainly because she talked less and was a little dull. What's wrong? Are you feeling uncomfortable? Wrapped in a light white shawl, Pei Jingshu's perfect shoulder outline was displayed in front of Gu Huiyan. It was cold outside, the air conditioner was on in the hotel room, and the diffuse oxygen supply was also turned on at this time. It's okay, no problem. Gu Huiyan waved his hand. Pei Jingshu could tell that he was a bit pushy. She wanted to ask him if he wanted to find an oxygen concentrator to give him oxygen for a while, but Gu Huiyan pointed at her face naughtily and said, "Just kiss me and I'll be fine." Pei Jingshu's pretty face turned red when she heard this. She couldn't help but raise her jade hand to pat Gu Huiyan and said angrily, "Can you be a little more serious?" "Then why should I be serious when I go out to play?" Gu Huiyan smiled bitterly. At this time, he was sitting on the bed, and Pei Jingshu was standing next to him. Pei Jingshu, who had just taken a bath, was fragrant. Gu Huiyan casually put his arms around her waist and held her in his arms. Maybe she was used to it, because Pei Jingshu naturally sat on Gu Huiyan's lap. Before she could say anything, Gu Huiyan lowered his head and kissed her. Don't first." Pei Jingshu, who was blushing after being kissed, although she was very shy, reminded Gu Huiyan in advance. "They said you can't do strenuous exercise when you first get here, so you, forget it tonight." "It's okay, don't you think I'm not okay?" Gu Huiyan could not easily let Pei Jingshu go at this moment. Without waiting for Pei Jingshu to refuse, he turned around and threw Pei Jingshu down on the bed. Originally, everything should develop in a normal order. But before even kissing her for a few times, Pei Jingshu suddenly noticed that Gu Huiyan was silent. "What's wrong with you?" Gu Huiyan's head was buried in her left shoulder and neck. Pei Jingshu's pretty face was flushed with embarrassment, her clothes were a little messy, and even her hair was somewhat trapped in the white quilt. "Don't scare me." Pei Jingshu pushed Gu Huiyan and found that he still didn't move. Gu Huiyan was so heavy and didn't move at all when he was pressing on her, which frightened her. She quickly found her cell phone and called her assistant. At this time, they no longer care about their celebrity status, so hurry up and ask someone to take Gu Huiyan to the hospital. Participating in a love show, this little guy is too down to earth. Author, Bulletin Shi Swan Shi Shui Xian. Chapter 398. Hashtag Gu Huiyan fainted due to altitude sickness and was sent to the hospital. Hashtag. That night, many netizens posted videos of their encounters with Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu in the snow area, and many people discussed them. Who would have known that a little later, a hot search would be directly ranked at the top of the lists on various platforms? Many fans were stunned at that time, and the comment section below was full of comments. "What's going on? Why are you suffering from altitude sickness? When I met him tonight, he was still alive and kicking. I remember that when we were at Jade Dragon Snow Mountain, this old man had quite strong altitude sickness. Didn't he have any awareness of precautions at all? His staff said he might have done it. Usually people who don't have high reliability symptoms have to rest for a while before going out to play in the local area. But he was lucky. After the flight, he went out to swim after landing. 6. I didn't believe in evil at the time. Although I didn't faint, I still ran to the hospital. Don't underestimate altitude sickness." So what happened to my brother? Although there were a lot of discussions and opinions, many people still expressed concern for Gu Huiyan. There is no way, who made Gu Huiyan now a superstar with over 100 million fans on the internet. When I was hospitalized after a car accident, the downstairs was full of fans, let alone now. Fortunately, in the morning, Gu Huiyan's company, Jing and Media, issued a statement telling everyone that Gu Huiyan was fine. He just had severe altitude sickness and fainted and was admitted to the hospital. After a sling, oxygen, and medicine, there was no problem. It is worth mentioning that the company's statement at the time said that the cause of Gu Huiyan's altitude sickness was due to strenuous exercise that night. The company's statement definitely meant nothing else. It just said that Gu Huiyan went out that night and was not used to altitude sickness. But netizens don't think so. Strenuous exercise. The style of the comment area quickly changed. "No, what kind of strenuous exercise is this? My friend works at a local hospital. She said that Gu Huiyan was disheveled when he was carried out." "Oh. So that's what happened. Ahaha, I'm laughing so hard. This guy has a serious addiction and still insists on being like Sister Pei. Isn't this looking for death? Gu Huiyan, the society is dead, and I can no longer live. Ahahaha. This wave of Gu Huiyan's society was completely dead. Maybe someone is spreading rumors, but there are indeed photos taken at the scene. Hotel staff, or nearby tenants, etc. don't mention Gu Huiyan's identity as a star artist, just ordinary people. When the ambulance comes and a stretcher takes him out, someone will have to watch and take photos. Eating melons is always a habit that Chinese people can never give up. Because she was too anxious at the time, Pei Jingshu only focused on sending Gu Huiyan to the hospital without thinking too much. Besides, he was so heavy that it would be difficult to put clothes on him. Some of the scenes at that time, coupled with the speculations of netizens, and the so-called violent exercise in the company's statement, it is difficult for netizens to think about it. In addition, neither of the two real owners denied it. The voices outside are getting louder and fiercer. In the end, almost all fans know that when Gu Huiyan and Sister Pei were playing house in the room, Gu Huiyan fainted due to altitude sickness and lack of oxygen due to strenuous exercise. Some people slowly started to spread rumors. For example, Gu Huiyan fainted not because of lack of oxygen, but because Sister Pei wanted too much. Gu Huiyan's body has been hollowed out all year round. Anyway, it's quite funny. To say it was a rumor, it would be better to say that everyone was joking while eating melon. After all, they joked about Pei Ban taking care of CP for more than a day or two. This time, Gu Huiyan's eye-catching attribute has once again been fully utilized. My brother is definitely serious about embarrassing people and standing out. I haven't been to the Spring Festival Gala in the past 2 years. Many netizens said that the Spring Festival Gala is boring and the ratings have dropped. But that doesn't mean that Gu Huiyan will not be embarrassed if he doesn't go to the Spring Festival Gala. Ha ha ha. Netizens were talking about it and laughing. At the beginning of the year, Gu Huiyan brought them a lot of jokes. So why did things develop like this? Pei Jingshu, who saw the relevant information on the internet the next day, wished she could beat Gu Huiyan to death. Speaking of which, in the past few years, because of Gu Huiyan, she had been talked about a lot of astringent related topics. Let's just talk about the eating noodles joke from that year. It hasn't passed yet, and people often bring it up. It's a good thing now, the whole internet knows that the two of them were playing house in the room, and they even made Gu Huiyan faint. The most exaggerated thing is that some people actually said that she drained Gu Huiyan. Pei Jingshu sometimes had a hard time imagining how such shameful words could come out of those people's mouths. Don't hit me yet, I'm even worse off than you are. At this time, Gu Huiyan was sucking oxygen from a hanging bottle. The tube was located under his nose. Let alone Pei Jingshu, he felt like he was shameless to see others today. How could anyone pass out while being kissed in the room? The crux of the problem is that Pei Jingshu didn't even dress him properly. He saw a photo on the internet with her chest exposed. The old company is dead. It is worth mentioning that Pei Jingshu was very happy when she heard this. She looked at Gu Huiyan funny and asked, "You feel embarrassed too?" After knowing each other for so long, the number of times Gu Huiyan felt embarrassed by Pei Jingshu was really rare. She had never seen anyone in the world who was more shameless than Gu Huiyan. Even he felt embarrassed this time, which was enough to show how embarrassing it was. No, oops. Gu Huiyan opened his mouth, but in the end he didn't feel embarrassed to say anything. He wanted to blame Pei Jingshu for not dressing him properly, but he also felt that it seemed like, "I did it myself." Pei Jingshu also pointed out unceremoniously, "It's not all your fault. I told you not to exercise strenuously, but you still insist on." She couldn't help but blush when she said this. She was always a thin-skinned girl. Even though she and Gu Huiyan had been dating for nearly 5 years, she would always blush when talking about similar topics. Inexplicably a bit kawaii. Then I didn't expect that Gu Huiyan looked helpless. As a man, your mouth will be hard after cremation, so you can't say no. At that time, although he was a little dizzy and had ringing in his ears, Gu Huiyan felt that he could persevere. It's just a little breather. But who the hell would have thought? It was a bit difficult to breathe in the first place, but when I kissed Pei Jingshu, my breathing became not so smooth. Keep breathing at a normal frequency for a while, as long as you can. Kissing is something that can easily lead to a lack of oxygen. If you insist on kissing, the oxygen in your body, which is already insufficient, will not be enough. It would be weird if he fainted due to lack of oxygen. You don't even know how scared I was last night. Pei Jingshu gently lifted her hair from her temples and tucked it behind her ears. After 3 years, her long, straight black hair has returned to its previous size, thick, dark and beautiful, and feels great. Speaking of last night, she really wanted to be beaten to death by Gu Huiyan. A boy pressed her down on the bed and kissed her. Suddenly there was no movement. Do you think she could not panic? Before coming here, she was afraid that Gu Huiyan would suffer from severe altitude sickness, so she made some preparations. However, Pei Jingshu heard that hypoxia would have an irreversible impact on the brain. As a musician who wants to create music, wouldn't he be stupid if he has something wrong with his brain? So Pei Jingshu hurriedly took him to the hospital without even having time to dress him. I'm so anxious. I didn't even think about my clothes. Well. Gu Huiyan sighed with a defeated look on his face, looking quite depressed. Seeing him like this, Pei Jingshu felt a little distressed. After all, she had rarely seen Gu Huiyan look depressed from the time they met. It's okay, it doesn't matter, everyone knows what kind of person you are anyway, there's no need to be so depressed. Pei Jingshu stretched out her beautiful hand and patted Gu Huiyan's shoulder. To be honest, they were almost an old married couple now. She naturally knew what Gu Huiyan liked to eat and bought him steamed buns filled with beef fillings in the morning. Are you usually this comforting to others? Gu Huiyan couldn't help but roll his eyes, feeling that it would be better for Pei Jingshu not to say these words, as if she was stabbing him in the heart with a knife. Pei Jingshu smiled and said, "You're not the kind of person who cares about other people's opinions, are you? Not to mention Gu Huiyan's personality, just because of his status as a celebrity artist, if he cared about other people's opinions, he would have treated himself to depression and become angry to death. I don't care about other people's opinions." Gu Huiyan smacked his lips. He looked like he didn't dare to say what he wanted to say, but he also looked at Pei Jingshu cautiously. Against the backdrop of the white bed sheets of the hospital, Pei Jingshu's face is still so delicate after 3 years. Pei Jingshu had a question mark on her forehead, looked over strangely, and asked, "What is that? If you don't care about what is said online and feel depressed, what else could it be?" "That's the one." Gu Huiyan was coy, but Pei Jingshu didn't rush him because she knew that Gu Huiyan would definitely say it. As expected, Gu Huiyan did say it, but the words he said made Pei Jingshu almost want to turn around and leave. "Do you know what this old six said?" He said, "As long as we are here, can't we even kiss? If there is a lack of oxygen, and kissing is even more hypoxic, it will be easy to feel dizzy and end up in the hospital? Is that what happened? Well, that should be fine. Gu Huiyan thinks so." As soon as these words came out, Pei Jingshu was completely silent. Okay. She thought Gu Huiyan was concerned about what was said on the internet. For the first time, she felt ashamed. She was dead in society and would have no shame to see anyone in the future. After a long time of fussing, what this old man was thinking about was still that shameful thing. "No, it's now, are you still thinking about these things? You have already come to the hospital to receive oxygen and a sling bottle. You fainted and were carried to the hospital last night. You are still thinking about those astringent things. Can't you think of normal things in your mind? It was Pei Jingshu who couldn't help but raise her beautiful hands to cover her pretty red face, and squeezed out such a sentence from her teeth through gritted silver teeth. She also knew why Gu Huiyan hesitated before saying this, because he knew very well that Pei Jingshu would not look good on him if he said this. No, isn't this normal? Gu Huiyan couldn't help but laugh. Thinking about how hard it would be to kiss Pei Jingshu in the future, he even wanted to book a flight and leave this damn place right away. It doesn't matter whether you believe in something or not, just leave now. So where are there any places where couples can't even kiss when they travel together? Gu Huiyan couldn't bear it no matter what. What's normal? Pei Jingshu didn't want to talk about him anymore. This guy's brain circuit was so strange. When he saw her, he was thinking about that all day long. So why do you want to come to this plateau area? Pei Jingshu lifted her hair and pushed the black hair scattered in front of her forehead to the back of her head. Her hair reflected light against the light. Until now, she still doesn't quite understand why Gu Huiyan insists on coming here. In fact, the environment in the snow area is harsh. Although it focuses on lack of oxygen but no lack of faith, it is not the first choice for many vacationers. Take the celebrity community for example. You can see many celebrities posting photos of themselves in Hainan or on vacation abroad, but you can't see many who come to snowy areas. This is evident. Most of the celebrities are pampered. They are on vacation for relaxation. You said that the scenery in the snow area is good, but it is lack of oxygen, and the distance between the scenic spots and the urban area is too far. Many if you want to go back and forth to the scenic spot on the same day, it will take 7 or 8 hours just by car. You said you can't go back and forth on the same day? Did you know that the accommodation environment in many scenic spots is very poor, and some even have no accommodation at all? There are dry toilets on Mount Everest, brother. That's not because people don't build it locally. The main reason is that the altitude in many places is too high and construction is too difficult. Needless to say how difficult it is to build a Qinghai-Tibet railway. Natural conditions do not allow it. People who are used to living a life of pampering are indeed not very accepting of this kind of environment, so you can see videos of entering Tibet being promoted online. Many of them are college students. College students who are like special forces soldiers will definitely be able to adapt. Pei Jingshu never quite understood why Gu Huiyan had to come here. In fact, she also had some altitude sickness, but it was very mild. After all, her usual amount of exercise was not very large, and she was also thin and delicate. People in the plateau area who usually have a higher demand for oxygen would feel more uncomfortable, so she would not suffer from it. But as far as Gu Huiyan is concerned, life is pretty good. That's it, she's all the way to the hospital. She has told Gu Huiyan several times in the morning that she can't go back. It would be the same for us to play somewhere else. But Gu Huiyan refused to agree. Always say keep on keeping on. What else can I say? Someone on the internet said that once you go to the hospital, you will basically be fine when you get out. I even asked my assistant to buy some anti-inflammatory drugs. He also promised that he would never seek death these days and would just lie down in the hotel to adapt to altitude sickness. Gu Huiyan was so good that Pei Jingshu couldn't bear to refuse. Then it's agreed that you can't exercise strenuously until the altitude sickness disappears. Pei Jingshu told Gu Huiyan like this after injecting the vasculature in the hospital. That tone is no different from warning. Especially. At this point, her pretty face turned red, and she stared at Gu Huiyan with a hint of anger and said. Especially not that. I'm not so desperate. Gu Huiyan couldn't help rolling his eyes, and even asked Pei Jingshu in confusion. Why do I seem to be someone who can't live without that in your eyes? Pei Jingshu. Aim. She gave Gu Huiyan a look and let him feel it for himself. That is to say, don't you have any idea whether you are that kind of person? Do you need others to tell you? How can you be so embarrassed and so shameless to ask? In this way, Gu Huiyan, who had been confused all night, finished breathing oxygen, accompanied by Pei Jingshu and his assistant, left the hospital and returned to the hotel in the city. It is worth mentioning that on the road, Gu Huiyan moved very lightly and slowly, completely different from when he was jumping around before. Despite this, he carried the bag and cup that Pei Jingshu was carrying naturally. Pook. Pei Jingshu was amused. She felt that Gu Huiyan was miserable, she felt sorry for him, and she was somewhat touched. You said that even though he was like this, he still didn't forget to help you carry his things. He was a bit astringent, but he was really a good man. When he returned to the hotel, Gu Huiyan lay down on the bed, still feeling very weak. Pei Jingshu asked him if he needed oxygen, but he still said no. As for why? It's quite simple. Here, NIZY and good food allow the body to adapt to the plateau environment here. Gradually, it will no longer need to inhale oxygen. After adapting, you can go to higher altitudes. But if you inhale oxygen, if you have a slight altitude sickness, you will become dependent on oxygen, and it will be easy to carry an oxygen tank every day in the local life. Very fatal. Sometimes I really don't know whether your body is strong or weak. Pei Jingshu couldn't help but smile bitterly. Gu Huiyan was lying on the bed. She hesitated and leaned over with a blushing face. He just happened to be lying in Gu Huiyan's arms. Gu Huiyan hugged her naturally. They were really like an old couple now, and they were very skilled in many intimate movements. How do you say this? Gu Huiyan asked. Just before. Pei Jingshu said, Gu Huiyan really went to the hospital several times before. Excluding the car accident, you can just say that on the night of his first concert, he was able to go to the hospital even though he had a cold. He was also talented. Call him weak. He usually jumps around and exercises regularly. He is in good shape and in good condition and has abdominal muscles. Let's call him strong. If he catches a cold, he will fall into a coma and go to the hospital. He will also be in a coma after experiencing high fever. I can't explain the cold. The high reflex just shows that I'm in good health. Gu Huiyan had black lines on his forehead, and he sternly explained to Pei Jingshu that the better the body, the more serious the problem of orgasm. Pei Jingshu intended to refute him a few words, but Gu Huiyan actually corrected her sentence at the end. Besides, don't you know best whether I am in good health or not? In a word. Pei Jingshu's fair, delicate, elf-like face was instantly flushed. This guy Gu Huiyan. Explain. Varied. What? Woolen cloth. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Participating in a love show, this little guy is too down to earth. Author, Buletin Shi Swan Shi Shui Xian. Chapter 399. His. Pei Jingshu was never a hands-on person, but today she couldn't help but stretched out her white and slender hands, picked up a small piece of flesh on Gu Huiyan's arm, and squeezed it hard. Gu Huiyan grimaced in pain and gasped. Pei Jingshu might not hit people normally, but she was good at hitting people. When Gu Huiyan pinched her, it felt like the area was turning purple. Between laughter. 3 days passed quietly like this. Gu Huiyan and the others had made an appointment with a local tour guide to take them for the next day. However, due to Gu Huiyan's health, the time could only be postponed. At this time, the money power showed its charm. The tour guide said that they could wait for a few days. For them, taking good care of their health was the most important thing, and they even brought Gu Huiyan some butter tea that they cooked themselves. Butter tea is actually quite delicious, but compared to the most common sweet tea in the area, some people still can't accept the taste. Speaking of sweet tea, Gu Huiyan always feels that some sweet teas are not authentic when going out to eat these days. As for why? Because when you pour the sweet tea in some shops and smell it, you can smell the smell of milk powder. Gu Huiyan told Pei Jingshu that he had drunk the soy milk powder at home when he was a child, and when he first smelled the sweet tea here, he thought it was the same thing. Pei Jingshu obviously didn't know what soy milk powder Gu Huiyan was talking about, but she still smiled and listened to Gu Huiyan's words. The two of them, in fact, no matter who looks at them, they don't seem to be from the same world. Gu Huiyan is always more down to earth, but Pei Jingshu looks like a pampered young lady. However, Pei Jingshu was happy to listen to Gu Huiyan talk about things that she had never seen or even heard of, and Gu Huiyan never felt that what she said would make him look bad. The two have always had a tacit understanding and been able to find a point where each other is comfortable. When Gu Huiyan was alone, it might be due to his childhood environment that he always calculated his daily expenses carefully and rarely spent money lavishly. But when she was with Pei Jingshu, she was never stingy with money. That is to say, Pei Jingshu didn't ask for it, otherwise Gu Huiyanka would have been given to her. Now they are really getting along like an old married couple. These days, Gu Huiyan doesn't exercise very much. Basically, except for going out to eat, he spends most of his time in the hotel room. There's nothing you can do about it, altitude sickness is quite serious, and you have to adapt to it in the city for a few days before going to a high altitude place. Normally, Gu Huiyan is always restless. He was nicknamed Fire when he was recording programs before. He walks fast, moves a lot like someone with ADHD, and is always lively. I have been quite honest these days. Even if I occasionally go out for a walk, I do it slowly and quietly. That cautious look made Pei Jingshu laugh, and she couldn't help but tease him and said, "It seems that I will bring you here more times in the future." Gu Huiyan had a question mark on his forehead and looked at Pei Jingshu strangely, as if asking how to say this. Pei Jingshu smiled and replied, "This way you can learn to be honest." As soon as this statement came out, Gu Huiyan, "He doesn't want to talk at all, okay." Pei Jingshu giggled. Gu Huiyan has been very honest these days. She is usually just like a child who has not grown up. If you look at the past few days, she is just like that. Just like the old man who was injured and recovering. And when she accompanied Gu Huiyan for a few slow walks, she would occasionally have the feeling that she was walking with her husband when she was old. Especially the day she just came out of the hospital, she was supporting Gu Huiyan. Pook. Pei Jingshu couldn't help laughing when she thought of this. "Why are you laughing?" Gu Huiyan himself felt embarrassed like this. When Pei Jingshu smiled, he felt like he was being laughed at. At that time, he couldn't help but twitch the corner of his mouth and insisted on asking Pei Jingshu. They were walking on the street and happened to have lunch at a nearby Tibetan restaurant. The ultraviolet rays here are still very serious. Both of them are wearing hats and masks. Because the place is a bit remote and not very close to the Bulletin Palace, there are not many people, but not many people notice them. No. Nothing. Pei Jingshu just laughed and didn't tell Gu Huiyan what she was thinking. But the way she looked at Gu Huiyan made Gu Huiyan feel that something was wrong. "Explain." Gu Huiyan couldn't stand this kind of people staring at him and laughing without saying anything. Pei Jingshu shook her head. She would definitely not tell Gu Huiyan. Based on her understanding of Gu Huiyan, this guy would definitely not be able to accept that setting. "You won't tell me, right?" Gu Huiyan grinned, stretched out his slutty hands and scratched the area between Pei Jingshu's waist and armpits. "Ah. Don't. Ha, it's so itchy. Are you okay again?" "Oh, don't. Did I say it's not okay yet?" At first, Pei Jingshu wanted to remind Gu Huiyan to pay attention to her body. After such strenuous exercise, the altitude sickness that she had been suffering from for several days came back. It's a pity that Gu Huiyan's desire for knowledge defeated the altitude sickness at this time, and he insisted on knowing. So in the end, Pei Jingshu could only beg for mercy. Then he told Gu Huiyan what happened. Gu Huiyan. As Pei Jingshu expected, Gu Huiyan felt insulted when he heard that he was compared to an elderly person. Old people, right? The corner of Gu Huiyan's mouth twitched and he extended his salary hand again. Ah! What are you doing? I've obviously told you. Hey, don't. The two of them started fighting on the street. Pei Jingshu was not the type to chase boys. There were people on the street who would occasionally be attracted by their flirting, which would make Pei Jingshu feel so shameless and so shy. She frowned and pretended to be angry and intimidated Gu Huiyan several times. Unfortunately, Gu Huiyan knew her too well and knew that she would not be angry so easily, so he continued to military train her. In the end, Pei Jingshu had no choice but to run a few steps and get in the car. In fact, Pei Jingshu has changed a lot in the past few years. She used to be gentle, but her temperament is still very quiet, as indifferent as water. But now, there is more or less color. Some people say that Gu Huiyan is like painting Pei Jingshu's elegant and white drawing board with many strange colors. This is always true, and Pei Jingshu also likes this metaphor. It is worth mentioning that the two of them were later photographed by the paparazzi while they were flirting on the road. It was not a trending topic, but there is nothing wrong with being knocked down by CP fans. It's still so sweet. Many people commented in the comment area of Pei Ban takes care of CP. What the hell is my aunt laughing at? They have been dating for several years, why are they still so sweet? My girlfriend and I felt like we were a family in the second year. I'm envious. Except for the time when he chases me, my boyfriend has never been considerate. Sisters, men are like this. Do men have a good thing? Upstairs, you'd better see whose comment section you farted in. Brothers, draw your sword, someone is challenging our men's dignity. Do you really think our little fairy boy is easy to bully? It's the 5th year. Oh no, strictly speaking, this year is already the 5th year since Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu met and fell in love. People say that the 7-year itch is 2 years away from the 7th year, but many couples are not as sweet to each other after 5 years of dating. It's not that they don't like each other anymore, it's mainly because they are used to it. Once you get used to the position each other occupies in each other's lives, you no longer want to engage in rituals or anything like that, and don't think it's necessary. But looking at Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu, they seem to have always liked each other. On Pei Jingshu's birthday, Gu Huiyan always sends blessings on time. On Gu Huiyan's birthday, no matter how busy Pei Jingshu is, she will parachute to him. There. In the past few years, they have been together every New Year's Eve. Even if there are many New Year's Eve performances to be performed, they will count down together in the end. I remember that during the New Year's Eve last year, Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu were on the Orange Channel together. During the New Year's Eve countdown, all the artists participating in the performance had to go on stage to count down together. At that time, the organizer arranged for the two people to stand in different positions together. The male artist and the female artist had to be separated. Although both of them had enough seats to stand in the C position, if some seniors were there, they still had to give up their seats to the seniors. Even so, during the few seconds of New Year's Eve countdown, the two people still looked at each other in tacit understanding. At that time, the entire performance venue was brightly lit, with glittering gold sequins flying all over the sky. Later, a photo was circulated. Everyone was counting down, looking at the camera and the screen. Only Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu looked at each other in tacit understanding. That scene was later called the magic picture of Pei Ban taking care of CP. Over the years, domestic entertainment has produced numerous CPs, but in the end, most of them have not made it into the mainstream. Only Pei Ban takes care of CP, and to this day, he is still showering everyone with sweets all the time. People are always saying on the internet, "Aren't you two married yet? When will you ask for evidence? Sister Pei, when are you going to give Gu Laolio a title?" But in fact, they seem to have no shortage of such a ceremony now. On the internet, many people are complaining about CP. There's nothing I can do about it, Pei Ban takes care of CP is always sweet. But the same old rule, as long as it is related to Gu Huiyan, there is always something funny, such as in the past 2 days, Gu Huiyan's visit to the hospital was trending, and many people knew that he was in the snow area. The local area itself is a popular tourist city. From the beginning of the year to the end of the year, there are always people, and most of them are young people. Some tourists entering Tibet by train are in groups, and there are often large groups of thousands of people. I don't know which Shiur is there. Someone posted in the group, "Should we arrest Gu Huiyan?" Then it got out of hand. Okay. I want to catch him. Add 1. You can also catch a celebrity when you travel, it's so worth it. I'm going. Add 10086. This year's netizens are not good at anything, and they must be the first to join in the fun. The messages in the group were forwarded to other groups, and some people posted some updates on social platforms. I don't know which platform operator is responsible for the trouble, but they actually made a hot search for this matter. Then, countless netizens started discussing this matter. Capturing Gu Huiyan has become the common goal of the local traveling brothers. That's the next day. Because Gu Huiyan had dry mouth, he wanted to go out to buy lipstick after dinner. However, not long after he went out, he was photographed with a mobile phone and then posted to the group. Brothers, Gu Huiyan is around Bakuo Street. At that time, Gu Huiyan didn't know what happened or the seriousness of the matter, so he went his own way to buy lipstick. The environment in the snow area is quite bad. It's really not easy for people at low altitudes to adapt here. Gu Huiyan's high altitude reflexes basically had nothing to do today. He planned to go to the scenic spots in high altitude areas tomorrow. Instead, my mouth is so dry. I just went to the tour guide without doing a guide before coming. The tour guide also forgot to mention that in the first 2 days after arriving, Gu Huiyan was puzzled when he saw a humidifier in the hotel. It was dry in the north, but he had basically never used this thing. I really don't understand what the use of this thing is. Well, I felt it when I went to bed that night. That mouth is so dry, so dry. I don't know if it was because of high reflexes, but Gu Huiyan's nose was a little stuffy, and he could only breathe through his mouth. However, his mouth felt extremely dry after just a few breaths. Licking it with his tongue worked at the time, but it was useless after a few minutes. He was beaten in the middle of the night. It is common to wake up. As of today, Gu Huiyan's lips are almost dry and cracked. Not only Gu Huiyan, but also Pei Jingshu's mouth was a little dry, so Gu Huiyan's lipstick was bought for 2 people. Is this the only one? There are actually quite a few pharmacies nearby. Maybe it's because of the harsh local climate and environment. You can make money selling various highly anti-reactive medicines. When Gu Huiyan went in and asked for lipstick, the clerk immediately took him to find it without asking about his symptoms. It seemed that there were a lot of people coming to buy it. There are not many types, just one kind, so you don't have to choose. The clerk was about to answer Gu Huiyan, but suddenly he saw a lot of people at the door. What's wrong? Seeing the clerk staring at the door, Gu Huiyan was a little confused. After turning his head and looking over, I go. Gu Huiyan was a bit stupid at that time. Why were there so many people? What's even more exaggerated is that when these people saw him here, they rushed up. Elder brother. Brother Gu. I always like you. Can I take a photo with you? Ah. Gu Huiyan. A group of brothers who looked like college students rushed up directly, holding their mobile phones and excitedly asking for a photo. Gu Huiyan was stunned at that time. MD, he was covered up so tightly and still got recognized. Didn't you take Pei Jingshu out today? Also, why are there so many people? It's okay to be recognized by one or two, but why are so many people coming? This seems to have caused onlookers. Nowadays fans are quite well educated. Even celebrities usually go out and go to amusement parks to be recognized. Usually they just say hello and ask for a photo. Except for participating in events in specific places, there are rarely a group of people. People gathered around to watch. But today, why does it feel like these people came to squat on him deliberately? Thanks, thanks. Hello, hello, hello. Gu Huiyan greeted a few enthusiastic college students in a daze. It is worth mentioning that Gu Huiyan's male fans are always online. You see, the female fans can't squeeze in at this moment. The only ones who are taking pictures around Gu Huiyan are male fans. What's funny is that one male fan was so excited that he hugged Gu Huiyan's face and kissed him hard during the photo. Puff. Oh. At that time, everyone around me was shouting crazy. Gu Huiyan is also numb from being kissed. You think it's just a kiss from a female fan? How about a kiss from your male fan? Get out of here. Gu Huiyan didn't care about his star image anymore, so he just cursed others. Of course, I'm not really angry, I was just joking. What if there are male fans imitating the special girl? Haha. This group of people laughed happily. When Gu Huiyan was taking pictures, he asked them strangely how they knew he was here. Someone was kind enough to give him an answer, saying that it was very popular on the internet to catch him. Ah. At that time, Gu Huiyan had a question mark. He hadn't surfed in the past 2 days. Is the internet like this now? Having said that, the news about him on the internet is often watched by his assistant. Gu Huiyan will not always stare at his own news, which will be exhausting. But in the past 2 days, Zhang Nuan also had a high fever, and the high was a bit serious. I don't have much time to look at you, you know? You can't blame my assistant. You insist on bringing her here, and she still doesn't blame you for being a high-altitude rebel. Having said that, Gu Huiyan is really popular. This phenomenon has become more and more obvious in the past few years. He originally went out to buy lipstick, but then went back soon, but he was surrounded like an internet celebrity checking in, and he took half a photo. More. Later, Pei Jingshu called and asked him why he didn't go back. Hey, Gu Huiyan was about to explain that he was surrounded by enthusiastic brothers, but several college students around him got excited and shouted at Gu Huiyan's mobile phone. Sister Pei. Is it Sister Pei? Pei Jingshu was stunned and asked Gu Huiyan strangely. What happened? Well, I'll explain it to you when I get back. Gu Huiyan could only smile bitterly and hurried back after taking these photos. MD doesn't know how the news got out. There are more and more people here, and they are quickly becoming a crowd. Gu Huiyan went out without an assistant or anything. Without protection, it was easy for him to get tampered with. This is not unusual. When Gu Huiyan walked out just now, he felt that someone had touched his stomach. Speaking of which, his male fan even kissed him just now. Okay. I want a life. God knows how Gu Huiyan squeezed out. Anyway, after squeezing out, Gu Huiyan ran away in a panic. He didn't want to run, so the main reason was that if he didn't run, these people wouldn't let him go. Don't run. It is worth mentioning that when he runs, the fans behind him chase him. When he runs, they chase him, but he can hardly fly. Finally, when he finally returned to the hotel, Gu Huiyan discovered that the mother-in-law. I forgot to buy lipstick. Not only that. Because he was running wildly all the way, at night, the high reflex that he had so easily adapted to came up again. Participating in a love show, this little guy is too down to earth. Author, Buletin Shi Swan Shi Shui Xian. Chapter 400. Hashtag the craze for catching Gu Huiyan in the snow area. Hashtag. Not even half an hour after Gu Huiyan ran away from the drugstore to buy lipstick, a hot search was posted next door. No, are you guys really catching me? The netizens laughed like crazy, and the comment section was flooded with comments. I thought you were just joking, are you really going to catch me? This is too exaggerated, ha ha ha, my brothers are all stunned. My brother's face is full of doubts. No, he has a serious case of high reflexes. You can see there's no blood in his mouth. Can you stop chasing him? That is to say, is it possible that he is weak to begin with? Gu Huiyan, why the hell am I weak? Ah ha ha ha. They said they were trying to catch Gu Huiyan, but in fact most people thought it was just a joke. How could a celebrity be so easy to catch? What's more, even if they knew that Gu Huiyan was in the urban area was quite big. He was a person and not a thing. He could move. God knew where he was. But who would have thought that the local friends were so powerful that they were caught by Gu Huiyan through the connection between the groups? The crux of the matter is that Gu Huiyan was caught in more than one place. Later, Gu Huiyan went to another place and was discovered. This is very funny. As a result, Gu Huiyan didn't even dare to go out now, for fear of being surrounded by people when he went out. Pook. In the hotel, Pei Jingshu couldn't help but laugh when she saw Gu Huiyan running back out of breath and listened to him telling him about his tragic experience of the day. Today, she wore a black and white knitted sweater on the upper body and a set of white slim-fitting pants on the lower body. The whole outfit looked very figure-flattering. She also wore a loose shawl on the outside and had black and beautiful hair. Like a waterfall, it is casually spread over the shoulders and back, and the gentle and virtuous temperament is immediately highlighted. A goddess is a goddess after all. Pei Jingshu has become more and more mature in the past few years. She may still occasionally blush and feel ashamed because of Gu Huiyan's cheerful words, but no matter her daily behavior or dealing with things, she is much more calm than before. In a daze, I felt like siren. But how to put it? Everyone has their own strengths. It's hard to compare to my sister's feeling of being a strong woman. Huh. Gu Huiyan was sitting on the sofa and breathing heavily. Seeing that he seemed uncomfortable, Pei Jingshu asked. Would you like some oxygen? Seeing that his lips were a little purple, Pei Jingshu was not very reassured. In fact, Gu Huiyan has been adapting to high reaction quite well in the past few days. At least he won't get dizzy after moving a few times. They originally planned to go to high altitude areas tomorrow, and the tour guide had been waiting for them for several days, but Gu Huiyan was running around so much, why was he acting like a bear again when he came back? Her beautiful face once again showed some worry. It's okay, just take a rest. Although Gu Huiyan was panting and lying on the sofa as if he didn't want to move, he insisted on not taking oxygen, as if he was afraid that if he took oxygen, he would not be able to adapt to the high altitude environment here and would not be able to continue going. The same is true for scenic spots at higher altitudes. Pei Jingshu wanted to dissuade her, but she thought about it but didn't know what to say. In the end, she had no choice but to smile helplessly, help Gu Huiyan boil a cup of Rhodiola rosea water, and give it to him to drink. So you didn't buy any lipstick? Pei Jingshu asked while handing the water to Gu Huiyan. Gu Huiyan was busy running away all the way, and he didn't mention the lipstick until now. Pei Jingshu thought he should have forgotten it. Facts have proved that this is not the case. Ah! Gu Huiyan slapped his forehead and said. I was just taking pictures of them and forgot. At that time, Gu Huiyan had already bought the lipstick and was about to pay the bill, but suddenly a group of people rushed in and surrounded him. Later, I was busy running away, so I forgot about it. Pei Jingshu pursed her lips slightly when she heard this, and glanced helplessly at Gu Huiyan. The temperature here was really high, and she even needed to add a few more moisturizers to her usual skincare products. I also bought lipstick, but I couldn't deliver it these days. I wanted to buy one locally and use it first, but Gu Huiyan forgot about it. She was fine. Gu Huiyan's mouth was about to dry out. Blame me, I'll go out and buy it later. Gu Huiyan said this, but Pei Jingshu funnily took out her mobile phone and showed him the news on the internet. Catching Gu Huiyan has become a craze recently. It's easy for him to be caught if he goes out at this time. Okay. I go. The corners of Gu Huiyan's mouth twitched after seeing this, and he said that these people are just idle. Do you really have no human rights if you are a star? Let Zhang Nuan buy it later. Pei Jingshu silently held her forehead, smiled bitterly, adjusted her shawl a little, and sat next to Gu Huiyan. Gu Huiyan naturally leaned his head over and rested on Pei Jingshu's shoulder, which he once said was frightening. Why have you become so clingy lately? Pei Jingshu's pretty face turned red and she poked him. Why is a grown man always so clingy? I feel uncomfortable. Gu Huiyan grinned and stuck out his tongue to lick his lips. MD's mouth has been really dry in the past 2 days, and no amount of water can moisten it. My mouth seems to have a crack. Turning on the front camera of the phone and taking a look, Gu Huiyan's mouth twitched. The right side of his upper lip was indeed dry and cracked. The damn climate and environment here in MD are really killing people. People like Gu Huiyan who usually exercise often feel a little weak here. The muscles need oxygen, and every part of the body needs it. Because the oxygen content is not enough, the body must adapt to the state of not exerting much force. Just these few days. Maybe it's true that I'm not that dizzy or confused, but Gu Huiyan feels no strength. Damn, I don't even dare to climb the stairs, 2 steps and 2 steps. It's life-threatening. He is a very strong man, but here, he actually experienced the feeling of kidney deficiency. It's also quite strange. Hoo. The warm air from the air conditioner was blowing continuously, and it was really uncomfortable to lie on Pei Jingshu's shoulders. Gu Huiyan simply turned around and lay on Pei Jingshu's legs. The floors of the hotel are not high, and the buildings here are not allowed to exceed the Bulletin Palace, so there are basically no high-rise buildings like those in Chongqing that often have 30 or 40 floors. Even so, because of the high altitude, the sky here is always beautiful. The clouds are white, the sky is blue, the two colors seem to be in contrast, and the sunshine is also very dazzling. It may not shine indoors, but looking out the bright window in a dark environment is a different feeling. Gu Huiyan, who had just come back from outside and was drinking hot water, felt that he was slowly getting warmer, and the high fever from running all the way just now also eased a little. It was in the afternoon, and Pei Jingshu was reading a book in her arms. She had a good trip, but it was delayed because of Gu Huiyan's delay. Fortunately, she didn't mind. She always seemed to have a kind of tranquility about her. Even if she was sad, Gu Huiyan had never seen her get angry or lose her temper. Her personality is just like her image, quite peaceful. Pei Jingshu has long been used to Gu Huiyan, the cheap. She used to be shy when she was lying on his lap, but later it didn't matter as long as she didn't wear thin clothes in the summer to avoid getting his hair tied up. Anyway, there are only 2 people and no one else. From this perspective, Pei Jingshu's chin and hair were also within Gu Huiyan's field of vision. Some people always say that it is an exaggeration that Pei Jingshu is a 360-degree beauty, but in fact, Gu Huiyan has experienced it personally and feels that it is really not an exaggeration. Every part of her looks beautiful when taken out individually. Tisk tisk. Gu Huiyan smacked his lips and licked his tongue again. Although he enjoyed the leisure time in the afternoon, his mouth was really dry. The humidifier is on in the room, but it doesn't seem to be of any use. It seems to be working from the inside out. Go to sleep. Gu Huiyan thought that maybe he wouldn't feel his mouth dry when he fell asleep. So he closed his eyes and was about to fall asleep. But even in a daze, my mouth always feels dry, and I always subconsciously stick out my tongue to lick it. Pei Jingshu, who was drinking water, obviously noticed this. She looked at Gu Huiyan licking his lips, feeling a little unbearable and distressed. After thinking about it, she put the book aside, took a sip of water to moisten her red lips, and then put the water glass aside. While holding her hair to prevent it from falling on Gu Huiyan, she quietly bent her head, and while Gu Huiyan was sleeping with his eyes closed, she pressed her red and moist lips against Gu Huiyan's mouth. At that time, Gu Huiyan was dozing off in a daze, when suddenly a very fragrant smell came over, and it was a bit strange. Then, I felt something wet and soft being pressed against my mouth. When I opened my eyes, I just saw Pei Jingshu's side face. To be honest, Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu have been in love for nearly 5 years. Pei Jingshu's occasional and contrasting tenderness is always like a feather tickling Gu Huiyan's heart. Itchy. It's unbearably itchy. Look, what are you looking at? When she got up, she noticed that Gu Huiyan had opened his eyes, and Pei Jingshu felt a little shy. The sun happened to shine into the room at that time. The ultraviolet rays here were very strong, and the evenly bright floor actually reflected the light. It really played a role. Reflector effect. Pei Jingshu's fair and pretty face became even more rosy. No, it's just. Gu Huiyan couldn't help but smile and said. It's just, well, why did you kiss me all of a sudden? I don't know if it was because the high reaction oxygen was not enough to supply oxygen to the brain. Gu Huiyan's brain was a little weird, and he didn't realize why Pei Jingshu kissed him for a while. Pei Jingshu's face was red, her eyes were evasive, maybe she was a little shy, and she forgot to hold her hair with her hands, so her long hair hung down on Gu Huiyan's face. It was definitely not the first time Gu Huiyan had experienced the feeling of being whipped by hair. Pei Jingshu's hair was very fragrant and not greasy, so there was nothing to resist. That is. Pei Jingshu turned her head and pretended to drink water, trying her best to avoid her shame, and said casually. Why don't you use your mouth? This can moisturize you. As soon as these words came out, Gu Huiyan felt a little itchy. To be honest, Pei Jingshu often makes some sweet moves. For example, when Gu Huiyan drank too much and refused to drink hangover soup when she participated in Hello Life Partner, she actually fed him directly with her mouth. Okay, now, I saw that Gu Huiyan had a dry mouth, so I just used my own mouth as a lip balm. She didn't know what she was thinking. Gu Huiyan was delighted and asked. This can only work for a while. Is it possible that you can still kiss me every once in a while? If the saliva works, Gu Huiyan can just lick his lips after a while, and his lips won't be so chapped that he needs to buy lipstick. Pei Jingshu blushed, rolled her eyes at him, and said angrily. You have a beautiful thought. Can't you just say yes? Gu Huiyan turned around and hugged Pei Jingshu's waist. It was quite thin and felt good, so he even rubbed it. Shameless and skinless. Pei Jingshu pushed his head, her cold hands were quite stimulating. In fact, there were some things that Gu Huiyan had better not say out loud. He just pretended to be asleep. A girl like Pei Jingshu, who was so soft-hearted, would not be able to bear it if he kept licking his mouth. Again and again, it's not uncommon. But if he is awake and keeps staring at Pei Jingshu, and wants to watch her kiss him, then Pei Jingshu will definitely not be able to agree. She's too thin-skinned. But there is one thing to say. The taste of this Pei Jingshu brand lipstick is really unique. In the afternoon, Zhang Nuan asked Gu Huiyan if she wanted to buy lipstick. Pei Jingshu definitely said yes, but Gu Huiyan waved her hands and sternly refused, saying that I already had the lipstick and didn't need it. Say, what did you say? Pei Jingshu blushed and almost pushed him. Can you not talk about such embarrassing topics in front of others? Zhang Nuan. Although I don't know what happened, it seems that she ate a mouthful of dog food, right? By the way, isn't this just lipstick? What are you two doing? She didn't know the allusion to this lipstick, otherwise she would have been stuffed with dog food. Let's go buy lipstick. Pei Jingshu blushed and told Zhang Nuan. Need not. In the end, Gu Huiyan stopped him sternly and refused to let Zhang Nuan buy lipstick anyway. Are you kidding me? I already have Pei Jingshu brand lipstick, why should I use anything else? Now that there is no lipstick, he will pity Pei Jingshu and kiss him every once in a while. But with lipstick, Pei Jingshu can't kiss him anymore, let alone whether she can kiss him or not. Even if she wants to, she can't kiss him because her mouth is greasy. Are you coming up? As for saliva, it is not as effective as lipstick, and the mouth is chapped but not chapped. That doesn't matter. Just crack it, but can you still crack your mouth? Gu Huiyan, a typical person who would even risk his life for that little moisture. I even went to the hospital because of lack of oxygen because I was playing house with Pei Jingshu. Netizens commented enthusiastically on this eye-catching bag, saying, no wonder Sister Pei doesn't want to give you a title. Who is willing to give such a shameful person a status? You, can you stop being so shameless? No, at this time, Pei Jingshu was almost stamping her feet in anger, feeling ashamed and angry. He really didn't want to talk to Gu Huiyan, so he simply ran to the room. Gu Huiyan laughed and said nothing in the face of Zhang Nuan's confused eyes. He just told her to find the tour guide and tell him that she could leave for the high-altitude area tomorrow. Can you? Zhang Nuan was a little worried about Gu Huiyan's health. She has been working with Gu Huiyan for more than 5 years. Zhang Nuan has been his assistant since Gu Huiyan's crystal love season and has been following him all these years. Pei Jingshu doesn't spend as much time with Gu Huiyan as she does, so she is very familiar with Gu Huiyan. It is very clear that Gu Huiyan likes to show off his strength. The thief is so tough talking. What do you call this? Did the man say no? Gu Huiyan rolled his eyes. Zhang Nuan. Aim. She wanted to say that Gu Huiyan's lips were obviously purple. It would be nice not to take him to the hospital now, but why would he go to a high-altitude area tomorrow? Stop living, you. It is indeed true. Gu Huiyan fainted again that night and went to the hospital to get a syringe. This incident was later photographed and posted online, and some fans were delighted. They laughed at Gu Huiyan and condemned the people who captured him. They say someone else caught him and he ran away, that's why it's like this. Gu Huiyan didn't deny it, and even went to a post that posted similar comments and said they were the ones who caught him. Ahahaha. Netizens laughed like crazy. It took more than a day or two for Gu Huiyan to adapt to this high altitude. Facts have proved that he really can't adapt. Everyone's body is different. He himself is tough, but he is not a fool. In addition, he has been delayed for many days in the city, so he can't no more delay. So even though he was reluctant, Gu Huiyan still carried the oxygen tank on his back. On the second day, I started wandering around and visiting various attractions. The Bulletin Palace in the urban area is worth seeing. In fact, there are many people taking pictures in the urban area, with cameras, mobile phones, or people checking in for travel. All kinds of people are taking pictures around the Bulletin Palace. On the internet, many so-called magic pictures posted by people who have traveled to Tibet are also pictures of the palace taken from various angles. Some are from the square at close range, some are from Nanshan Mountain in the distance, and some are night scenes taken with a telephoto lens from the overpass location far away in the city. In short, when you come to take pictures in the city, you basically take pictures of the Bulletin Palace from all angles. Gu Huiyan prepared a camera before he came. Although he was not very good at handling it, he was tall and took many photos from a very straight boyfriend's perspective. But who can save Pei Jingshu's good looks and trashy perspective? Didn't everyone say that there are three elements to taking a photo: the model looks good, the model looks good, and the model looks good? So even if the photo is not good, Pei Jingshu's appearance can be completely saved. But despite this, Gu Huiyan's focus was wrong in one of her pictures, and the background of the photo was so clear that Kingzi and Pei Jingshu's face were almost invisible. Later, when he was sorting out the photos and posting them on the news, Zhang Nuan couldn't help but complain, saying that if you really can't do it, never take photos again. Aren't you just disgusting? Sister Pei's appearance is already tolerant of your photography skills, but you can still take blurry photos for others. Can you stop living? Straight men stand behind dogs. Participating in a love show, this little guy is too down to earth. Author, Buletin Shi Swan Shi Shui Xian. Chapter 401. The most famous ones in the area are the Buletin Palace and the Joachim Temple, but there are also a few temples that are niche, but quite efficacious. Some seek wealth, and some seek marriage. At this stage, Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu don't seem to be lacking these, but since they are here, they must go and take a look. It is worth mentioning that when going to every temple, Pei Jingshu and her assistant will basically go to pay homage, burn incense, serve wine, etc. There was no need to say anything about what the assistants asked for. As for Pei Jingshu, her father was in business, and it was common for businessmen to burn incense and worship Buddha. Although Pei's mother had never liked this, she never stopped her. Pei Jingshu was influenced by it when she went to the temple. I often pay my respects. After all, you have to make a good start. In the past, when I went to some places for work, if there were famous temples nearby, I would often go and pay homage. I remember 1 year ago when she was working in Suzhou and Hangzhou in the autumn, she went to Lingyan Temple to burn incense. The fallen leaves in the West Lake were very beautiful that autumn. It was the right season. She was photographed by passers-by while burning incense. It was uploaded to the internet and received tens of millions of clicks. Coming. Such a girl who looks like a Jiangnan woman, dressed plainly in a white dress and going to burn incense and worship Buddha, has a sense of familiarity in a novel praying for her husband who is fighting abroad. The whole picture comes out right away. Both the assistant and Pei Jingshu would go to worship, but Gu Huiyan didn't seem to be interested at all. He just followed around, but had no intention of burning incense and worshipping Buddha. Pei Jingshu asked him if he didn't want to bow down. Gu Huiyan said that his faith did not lie in these so-called Buddhas. To be honest, Gu Huiyan also thought about believing in Buddhism or something before, but they didn't give Gu Huiyan anything. Gu Huiyan was always a more realistic person. It was so difficult to be a trainee in those years, and the gods and Buddhas in the sky didn't say anything. Welfare. Gu Huiyan said, it is better to believe in gods and Buddhas than to believe in the system. After all, everything he had today was given by the system. In short, it is better to seek help from others than from yourself. Pei Jingshu laughed dumbly when she heard this and didn't say anything. She always respected Gu Huiyan and the two of them hardly imposed anything on each other. The temples in the snow area are said to be quite efficacious. Gu Huiyan saw many people worshipping near the Joachim Temple. Some of them were holding handheld prayer wheels. There are also golden prayer wheels everywhere here. It is said that there is faith in the snow area. Indeed, you can see many people holding rosary beads there who seem to have faith, but Gu Huiyan always feels that this so-called faith is an illusion created by the local beauty in the brain. Coupled with the lack of oxygen in the snow area, you can't even think of many annoying things. Naturally, you will feel relaxed. Speaking of which, there are indeed many people worshipping here, and some even bring their children to worship together. You can indeed see some devout faith in them. Maybe their skin is dark and their clothes are dirty because they are constantly worshipping, but their eyes are really sparkling with light. That feeling is something that many tourists who come to the local area cannot express. Some people would take pictures of them with their mobile phones, but Gu Huiyan never took a photo even though he passed by many worshippers with his camera in hand. And he never walked in front of them, he always walked from behind. I feel like I should give people a little respect. Hey, it's better to have a good evening. In the evening, Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu came out from a Sichuan restaurant and wandered aimlessly on the street. Gu Huiyan couldn't help but sigh with emotion. The weather was a bit cold, and Pei Jingshu's hands were icy cold as she was being held by Gu Huiyan. She asked funnily, "Isn't it good during the day?" "Daytime." Gu Huiyan didn't want to mention the daytime for a while. The day is definitely better than the night, but during the day. There are so many people, so conspicuous. The trend of catching him online has become more and more intense in the past 2 days. I really don't know which Xiu'er mentioned it. MD now, if Gu Huiyan goes out for a few steps and is watched even slightly, he will be caught by a group of people in less than half an hour. The brothers don't have any evil intentions, they just want to join in the fun and ask for a photo or something along the way, but the problem is that they are surrounded everywhere they go, which makes it impossible to have fun. Gu Huiyan doesn't dare to stay in one place for too long now. He basically moves around at any time. It would have been nice to take a relaxing and romantic walk in the city to feel the atmosphere of the city, but in the end he was forced to run around. The key question is, those brothers all wanted to arrest him, not Pei Jingshu. This was like Gu Huiyan dragging down Pei Jingshu. Later he even asked whether he and Pei Jingshu should play separately, otherwise they wouldn't be able to play well. Pei Jingshu will definitely not agree. Then why is she here if Gu Huiyan doesn't accompany her? So, the two of them were forced to run around. That is to say, Gu Huiyan is in ruins now, so he needs to use oxygen directly, otherwise the high reflex would cost him half his life. Just look at this moment, even though it is night, Gu Huiyan is still holding a bottle of oxygen and sucking it. But at night, not many people came to catch Gu Huiyan. Most of the people who came to the local area were tourists, and those who caught Gu Huiyan were also mostly tourists. The tourists wandered around all day long, but they really didn't have the energy to match wits and courage with Gu Huiyan at night. And at night, there seemed to be fewer people who recognized Gu Huiyan. Of course, there were still many people who recognized Pei Jingshu. Gu Huiyan sometimes wondered, how could anyone recognize her no matter how tightly she was wrapped? This damn good looks and temperament. Shall we go have some sweet tea? I just happened to pass by a sweet tea house here. Gu Huiyan had seen the video on the internet before. It seemed to be the kind of restaurant that many locals go to. A cup of sweet tea costs 1 yuan. You can just find a place to sit with a cup and put the change. Put it on the table, and soon someone will come over with a pot to pour you tea. But probably no one would have thought that so-called big stars and public figures like Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu would drink sweet tea for 1 yuan a cup, right? But then again, it was Gu Huiyan who did it, so that doesn't seem to be surprising. There are quite a lot of people in the sweet tea house. The furnishings are mostly of the bench type. It can't be said to be clean. It feels dark inside, but what can I say? It has quite an atmosphere. There were a lot of people inside, including young people, but it seemed like more of them were locals. It's pretty easy to tell the difference between locals and tourists. You just have to look at your skin color. The local ultraviolet rays are very strong, and the locals, both adults and children, are basically quite dark. Of course, it can also be seen from the attire that almost all tourists have a jacket. Jackets are very popular recently. Just like the North back in the day, they were standard for college students. In order to keep a low profile, Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu didn't even wear brightly colored clothes. Although they had just had dinner, Gu Huiyan still ordered 2 bowls of Tibetan noodles while taking the cups. The Tibetan noodles here seem to be made from highland barley noodles. It's delicious, but that's really unscrupulous. The white noodles we can eat now are actually the best noodles, but because we eat them so often, they become less so. It's just a rarity. It's not necessarily delicious, but if you're here, why don't you take a bite? Don't Chinese people have those 8 famous sayings? For your own good, it's good to get used to it, it's not easy. I'm still a child, I'm older, I've come here, I'm older and there's no one left. If you mention it casually, it will give you the moral kidnapping you want. So now many people have learned to give up their personal qualities and enjoy a life of immorality. The sweet tea is actually average. Gu Huiyan always feels that this sweet tea smells like milk powder. It is the same wherever you drink it. But for $1 of sweet tea, what do you want for a bicycle? It's too exclusive. So Gu Huiyan didn't choose either. It's time to drink a cup of sweet tea to warm up your body when it's cold at night. Although the place here doesn't feel very clean, the cups are quite clean and the store seems to be a time-honored one with always a lot of people. It gets dark relatively late here, almost around 8 o'clock. Gu Huiyan and the others arrived very late. It is said that the store here can be open until the early morning. It is worth mentioning that Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu were sitting together with some local Tibetan friends. Gu Huiyan had those social bad habits. He saw a Tibetan brother playing the guitar and took it over. Played it a few times. It wasn't very noticeable at first, but it immediately became noticeable as soon as I played the guitar. Click, click, click. Isn't this? Someone immediately recognized them and took pictures with their mobile phones. In less than half an hour, someone immediately posted the video. The topic is, hashtag Gu Huiyan takes Pei Jingshu to drink sweet tea for $1 a cup. Hashtag. Many people in the comment area were offended. No, brother, where are you taking my sister Pei? I've been to that place. It has quite an atmosphere and is unique, but it doesn't feel like a place where Sister Pei should go, does it? As expected, it's you, Gu Huiyan. This kid hasn't been caught enough during the day, and he still has the heart to take Sister Pei out to drink sweet tea at night. He is a good social cow. He plays guitar with my Tibetan brother, haha. He really hasn't changed at all, he's still so embarrassing. Spring Festival Gala, I'm familiar with him being embarrassed. Sister Pei, do you know why I haven't given him a title for so long? Nearly 5 years have passed since Crystal Love season. Today, Gu Huiyan is no longer the amateur who just debuted, who was said to be a clownish clown. He can also be regarded as a well-known superstar. But this kid still talks and does the same things as before. We're not saying there's anything wrong with the $1 sweet tea. Many people go there because of its special features, but the problem is that Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu don't look like people who go to such a place. You two are so different. Gu Huiyan is better, especially Pei Jingshu. How does she seem to be related to a $1 sweet tea? Everyone finally knows why Pei Jingshu has not given Gu Huiyan a title. He is always so embarrassing. This eyebag. After all, Gu Huiyan's down-to-earth attitude has always made everyone very happy. No matter where he goes, even though he has been touring abroad for a whole year now, Gu Huiyan is still the same as before, going to places where ordinary people would go and doing things that ordinary people would do. She has no celebrity baggage or idle airs at all. Even though she was disturbed by being caught on the road, she has never lost her temper. In this regard, it still makes fans, passers-by, and audiences quite satisfied. Ding, the host has successfully grounded himself and gained exposure, and the reward points are at 91x666. Gu Huiyan was a little surprised when he received the system prompt. It was so easy to get the points. It is worth mentioning that because some people lined up for them and some people paid attention to them, there were more people in the store, and people started coming over to ask for photos. It feels like Gu Huiyan has almost become an internet celebrity check-in point for tourists visiting Tibet in the past 2 days. Just as the sweet tea and Tibetan noodles were finished, Gu Huiyan took Pei Jingshu and left. Wandering on the street, it was night, so at least I wouldn't be surrounded by people. Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu were very casual, just wandering around, basically not looking at maps or anything, and not having any particular destination they wanted to go to, so they just wandered wherever they wanted. When you get tired of shopping, just send the assistant your location and he will pick you up. Today is the last day to go. Tomorrow they will go to high altitude areas and basically go back after playing. In the past few days, either Gu Huiyan has rebelled, or Gu Huiyan has been caught. It is quite helpless to have so many troubles on a private trip. Walking on the roadside, the street lights are dim, and the shops in the city close very late, but the lights are bright, and it feels pretty good. The houses here are not high, many are only 3 or 4 stories high. They don't have the crowded feeling of a big city, and it's quite pleasant to walk in this place. It's just a bit cold. At the beginning of the year, the temperature has not yet risen, and the climate environment in the snow area itself is harsh. It may not be as cold as in the north at this time, but you still need to wear a down jacket. Adiao. Living somewhere in XZ. Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu, who were walking and chatting, suddenly heard someone on the roadside playing a familiar melody and singing a very familiar song. This attracted the attention of the two people, making them stop and turn around to look. The snow area here focuses on faith. People are quite free, so you can see street singers on the street no matter day or night. Some people will display the QR code to collect rewards, but there are also many people who just like it and sing along. What Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu saw was probably the latter, which was a rather young boy sitting in front of a closed door, holding his own acoustic guitar, playing and singing to himself. There are some people gathered nearby. The song this guy sings is quite famous, it's called Adiao, and it comes from the music king Gu Huiyan. Haha, that's right, Gu Huiyan's song. The song Adiao is probably Gu Huiyan's debut. It was the first song he sang in public when he was in Crystal Love season. I remember that before singing this song, Gu Huiyan was criticized as a clownish clown because of his crazy down-to-earth attitude. After singing Adiao, I felt like I slapped a lot of people in the face. Now, times have changed. 5 years later. On the street, Pei Jingshu and I heard someone singing this song. That feeling is really amazing. Adiao is indeed very well adapted to the snow area. The lyrics in it are also written about the snow area. Listening to the song in this hypoxic environment, you will feel very emotional. In addition, many people know that Gu Huiyan is here recently, so singing this song is easy to attract attention. This guy's voice is a bit similar to Gu Huiyan's, and he seems to be imitating Gu Huiyan's singing style. Many people thought Gu Huiyan was singing here, and that's why there were so many people. Want to sing? Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu stood behind the crowd and watched. Pei Jingshu asked Gu Huiyan in a low voice. She saw that Gu Huiyan wanted to go. Gu Huiyan is a person who likes to join in the fun. When he was recording a show with 11 Lin and Su Yuntang and having barbecue, when he saw someone singing Sunny Day at the barbecue restaurant, he would sing along. It's not good. Gu Huiyan scratched his head. He didn't care. The worst he could do was get recognized and run away. The key was that Pei Jingshu had been hiding and fleeing with him for several days. He was a little embarrassed. Seemingly sensing his concerns, Pei Jingshu chuckled understandingly and said, "It doesn't matter." She was wearing a mask, but Gu Huiyan seemed to be able to see her smile through the mask. In fact, she was really gentle. She supported Gu Huiyan unconditionally no matter what he did. Gu Huiyan smiled slightly, and then hugged Pei Jingshu. It just so happens that what I'm wearing today is the grey peaked cap that fans call the old actor. Then, Gu Huiyan lowered the brim of his hat and walked out slowly. Unfortunate fate. Obsessed and indifferent. At the right time, the street singer was still singing with his guitar. There were people watching, but they only kept a safe distance and few moved forward. And just then, in the crowd, a boy wearing a gray hat walked out. At that time, many people still had questions about what this person was going to do, but soon. Hey, is that Gu Huiyan? Damn it. It seems to be true. Hey, I know that hat. Oh my god, it's really him. Who would have thought that Gu Huiyan would come out at this time? In the past 2 days, people in the neighborhood were catching Gu Huiyan everywhere. Everyone thought it was too late for him to hide, but who knew that he actually stood up openly? Stop talking about them. The street singer was also a little silly. When he was nervous, his voice trembled a little, and it was actually a little off-key. Oh. Oh ho. There was booing nearby. Then Gu Huiyan raised his hand to comfort the little brother and took off his mask. When he took off his mask and revealed that familiar, naive face. Oh. The people nearby were boiling. And hearing the movement here. More and more people gathered here. Pei Jingshu was watching the scene with a smile in the crowd. At this moment, she was very proud of Gu Huiyan. Her boyfriend was very good and very popular with everyone. He always had the ability to ignite everyone with his mouth. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Participating in a love show, this little guy is too down to earth. Author, Buletin Shi Swan Shi Shui Xian. Chapter 402. Celebrities rarely come to the snow area. After all, the altitude here is high, the oxygen content is low, and the climate is not very pleasant. Celebrities are pampered. No matter how good the scenery is, they don't like to make themselves miserable. In the eyes of many people, the fact that Gu Huiyan came to Tibet to play was already a down-to-earth person. Not to mention, he is still like this. When passers-by sing his songs on the street, he chooses to come out in public. Oh. Some people at the scene were booing, and some were applauding. Even if he is now the king of the music industry, even if his appearance fee is already the highest in domestic entertainment, it is not a big deal to sing a song with an appearance fee of tens of millions. He has never been stingy about singing a few words like this to fans and passers-by offline. It is worth mentioning that the street singer who was still singing at first lost his ability when he saw Gu Huiyan. His voice was trembling and almost out of tune. There's nothing he can do about it. After all, that's the original singer of the song he's singing now, and he's also the big star Gu Huiyan, who is so high in everyone's imagination and only exists on the big screen. That is also his idol. The idol is in front of you and you sing his songs. The excitement is enough to make you forget how to sing. He can continue to sing, which is already good. In comparison, after taking off his mask, Gu Huiyan looked a little warm-hearted. He greeted the street singer and walked over. The little brother was playing the guitar as accompaniment. Gu Huiyan pointed at his guitar and then walked to his microphone. His microphone was mounted on a stand, and Gu Huiyan's meaning was very clear: you play and I sing. The little brother nodded repeatedly, like a chicken pecking at rice. He was so fast that even passers-by could see his excitement. This is normal. You know, not everyone in the industry can accompany Gu Huiyan. Give it to him. The accompaniments are basically master level. The band lineup at his concert, any musician selected, is top-notch in domestic entertainment. It is also an honor to accompany him. Dong dong. Songs like a Diao are very simple and can be shaped by a guitar. Some people always say that folk songs are poor. In many cases, it is just because they are simple. Coincidentally, that guy just sang the second verse of the verse. This guy is obviously very proficient in the melody of a Diao. Even though he was excited, he didn't forget how to play it. As he played, Gu Huiyan sang a Diao. Can I have a full meal tomorrow? You're used to it? Hunger is a religion. Oh ho. The moment Gu Huiyan opened his mouth, many people at the scene started to boo. Many passers-by did not stop at first, but when they heard the familiar voice and Gu Huiyan's distinctive voice, they were immediately attracted. And the result is, there are more and more people. There is something to be said for Gu Huiyan's timbre and voice recognition. It really can't be overshadowed. Many people thought that the little brother just sang was already very good, but as soon as Gu Huiyan's voice came out, you immediately felt. This is the comparison between professional singers and passers-by. It will feel like this. In the past few years, Gu Huiyan has occasionally improved his voice and singing skills when he has more system points. He was originally the ceiling of the Chinese music scene, but now he has risen to the top. Such him, coupled with his star halo, can naturally ignite the enthusiasm of every audience. It makes people think that he cares about Huiyan and lives up to his reputation. Adiao. The edges will not be smoothed by reality. You are not from this world. There's no need to care about the truth. Gu Huiyan was very heartwarming. Although he was singing a duet with a street singer on the roadside, he didn't mean to steal all the limelight and make this guy just an accompaniment. When he sang the more exciting chorus, he handed the microphone to the younger brother, indicating that the two of them could sing together. The little brother was always excited, but his singing was still quite steady, and what was even more heartwarming about Gu Huiyan was, when the guy sings the chorus, he sings the harmony along with it. Oh! Many people at the scene couldn't help but look at Gu Huiyan with admiration. Okay. A superstar who can afford to hold a concert with 100,000 people and an attendance rate of 100% is willing to be the backing vocalist for a street singer on the roadside. Just tell me why Gu Huiyan's reputation has been so good in recent years. He is such a real person offline. He has no idol baggage at all, no celebrity airs at all, he is just so real. Pei Jingshu in the crowd also looked at the scene with a smile. Ah! Of course, there are people around who recognize Pei Jingshu. After all, who doesn't know that the most famous Pei band takes care of CP in the entertainment industry is in the snow area recently. Gu Huiyan will definitely not come out alone. When he comes, Sister Pei will definitely be nearby. And Pei Jingshu's damn good looks and temperament are, to a certain extent, more recognizable than Gu Huiyan's voice. In this way, she was recognized by people around her. Someone was filming her and Gu Huiyan with their mobile phones. Gu Huiyan was singing there, and she was watching in the crowd, laughing. That picture. It's really inexplicably sweet, inexplicably poking, and inexplicably smacking. Of course, Gu Huiyan is not just a green leaf. For example, when it comes to the bridge section after the chorus of section B, he will still sing. Under the gray brim. Sunken cheeks. You seldom talk. Simple answer. Where will you be tomorrow? Who cares about you? Even if you die on the road. There are beliefs in the snow area, and a Diao sings about the beliefs of the snow area. The name a Diao is always included in the songs that people who come to Tibet must listen to. A Diao is about a little girl named a Diao, but it can also be about everyone who is living a life that is not easy. Gu Huiyan still remembers the first time he sang this song. It was his first time on a variety show. In fact, at that time, he was just like a Diao in the song. He didn't know whether he would be able to have a full meal tomorrow. I don't know what life will be like. He is always used to wearing this gray hat on his head and working hard alone. Maybe his efforts are in vain, but he is still somewhat persistent. At that time, Gu Huiyan never thought that he would be able to make it to where he is today. Looking back on the hardships he went through, he felt a little emotional. Don't talk about him. Even the people listening to the song at the scene felt infected by Gu Huiyan's singing. Gu Huiyan was probably watched by many people along the way. Gu Huiyan rarely sang the song a Diao and did not attend many concerts, so people often said that he had forgot his roots. But in these years, even if his career is in full swing, Gu Huiyan's behavior and dealings are the same as before. He even took Pei Jingshu to drink sweet tea for 1 yuan a cup just now. And when he stood in the urban area of the snowy area, wearing the grey peaked cap that fans called an old actor that he had always worn, he sang a Diao again. The feeling given to the audience was really deep. Many people even got goosebumps, perhaps thinking of themselves, and some even had gleaming eyes. Even Pei Jingshu in the crowd looked at Gu Huiyan with a little heartache. Gu Huiyan doesn't sing a Diao, maybe because he doesn't like to be pitiful. Originally, everyone at the scene got goosebumps when Gu Huiyan sang a few lyrics. Originally, the atmosphere at the scene could be said to be great. It turns out that there is a performance explosion in the chorus next. Originally, almost everyone took out their mobile phones and pointed the camera at Gu Huiyan, intending to record this moment. But who knows? After singing these 2 lines, Gu Huiyan actually, I can't do it anymore. The old man actually waved his hand, took out an oxygen bottle from behind his back, and in front of so many people, turned around and sucked in the oxygen. Then, there was silence. In those few seconds, the originally enthusiastic audience and passers-by may have had their brains shut down for a period of time, and they no longer knew what to say or express. In fact, Gu Huiyan's sudden sex made him jump to his waist. And when they reacted, puff. Hello. What are you doing? Ah ha ha ha. Then you sing well, why are you taking oxygen? As expected of you. I knew you were always good. Ha ha ha, Gu Huiyan. At the scene, everyone was laughing and complaining. You said it was sung well, the atmosphere was in place, and everything was just right. We are all waiting for his next chorus to explode. Expectations are high. As a result, this guy turned around and went to take oxygen with a weak look on his face. How can they not complain and dislike you? But then again, it seems that this is what he should do to care for Huiyan. This is a master who can be embarrassed until the spring festival evening. Is there anything he can't do? Ha ha ha. There was a lot of laughter. Many people were brought to tears, almost bursting into tears, but Gu Huiyan's behavior made them laugh out loud. Facing Gu Huiyan, everyone always doesn't know whether to cry or laugh. Even Pei Jingshu in the crowd silently held her forehead. That is to say, even she has really disliked Gu Huiyan in recent years. You really never know what he's going to do next, he always seems to play out of the box. There is nothing Gu Huiyan can do. MD originally adapted well to hypersensitivity in the urban area, but a group of people had to come to catch him, causing him to become hyper-refractory again. In order not to delay his trip, he was forced to rely on oxygen. It's fine for daily walking in urban areas without strenuous exercise, but not when the demand for oxygen is high. Singing itself requires a lot of oxygen. Gu Huiyan just sang a piece, which was high-pitched and long. It would be strange if he didn't lack oxygen. What's wrong with taking 2 puffs? Any questions? He was also interesting. You said you should take oxygen, and you pressed the guitar-playing hand of the guy next to you. It seemed to mean, wait for me to take a few puffs and we can sing together. At that time, the younger brothers were all confused and a little at a loss as to what to do. Ah ha ha ha. The scene was filled with laughter. And just when Gu Huiyan took a few breaths of oxygen and everyone was dumbfounded, Gu Huiyan finally raised the hand that was pressing his brother's guitar and shouted, "Come on, get up. It's a shame that my brother is familiar with the accompaniment of a diao and started playing it again, otherwise I wouldn't be able to sing." At the next moment, Gu Huiyan came closer to the younger brother, put the microphone between the younger brother and him, and with a gesture from his eyes, the 2 of them sang together. Unfortunate fate. Obsessed and indifferent. Farewell to youth. Countless stations. Be willing to be ordinary but not willing to, the rot of ordinary. You are a DL. You are a free bird. It's past 9 o'clock in the evening, the urban area of LS is deprived of oxygen and cold, with an altitude of more than 3,000, and the streets are brightly lit. Gu Huiyan led a group of people to sing a diao, which is very representative of the style of the snow area. During those times, even though there was some laughter, everyone always couldn't laugh or cry about Gu Huiyan, but the emotion of that moment still infected everyone. People nearby. More and more. It seems that they heard that Gu Huiyan was here, so more and more people gathered there, looking like they were going to cause a traffic jam. Let's go. Gu Huiyan originally wanted to leave after singing, but some people who came later were too enthusiastic. Although they would not block Gu Huiyan's way, when he heard that Gu Huiyan was leaving just after they arrived, he was still a little disappointed. Ah! Gu Huiyan just can't stand the disappointment of offline audiences. This can be seen from the many encores and additions he has made during his concert tours in recent years. There was a concert in Shanghai that was fined a lot of money because the return time was overtime, which caused Jiang's mother to complain. Well. Gu Huiyan helplessly looked at Pei Jingshu in the crowd. The latter did not urge Gu Huiyan to leave, and there was no anxiety in his eyes. On the contrary, there is a sense of peace of mind. The label of husband singing and wife following has long been engraved on Pei Jingshu and cannot be erased. Gu Huiyan simply smiled helplessly, took the little brother's microphone and said, "There are a lot of people here." Not only were there many people, almost everyone was taking photos with their mobile phones. It was already late at this time and there were few cars, otherwise there would have been a traffic jam by now. Ha ha. Oh. There was laughter and some booing at the scene, but it was very lively. To be honest, I would have to ask someone else to do it. I don't know why my palms are sweating. Fortunately, Gu Huiyan is an out-and-out person, and as an artist he has never been afraid of the eyes of offline audiences. First of all, thank you for your support. Gu Huiyan said bluntly. But there are too many of us, and it will easily cause congestion later, which will be bad. And then. He originally said it nicely, but everyone slowly calmed down and listened to what he said. Who knows? This guy said half of what he said. Suddenly. He turned his head again and took a few breaths from the oxygen tank. Puff. Ha ha ha. The people at the scene really couldn't hold their nerve. That is to say, the way Gu Huiyan takes a breath of oxygen after saying a few words is really funny, isn't it? He is really miserable and funny. Don't laugh, don't laugh. Gu Huiyan also smiled helplessly and said. It's not all thanks to some good brothers. I'm already a rebel, but I've been pursued even more fiercely in the past 2 days. The words fell. Ha ha ha. The scene burst into laughter again. Gu Huiyan happened to catch a glimpse of a very familiar brother and couldn't help but point at him and said. Don't laugh at me, brother. Why are you so embarrassed? You chased me 2 streets at Zheji Temple this afternoon. I'll count the number of times you chased me. Not only this, but the girl next to him also smiled fiercely. Gu Huiyan couldn't help but complain. And you have a loud voice. I should buy you a speaker. You called that person here. We all know this, okay. As soon as these words came out. Puff. Ah ha ha ha. Those people couldn't stop laughing again. It is not uncommon for Gu Huiyan to be caught recently. Most young people traveling in the local area know that this is basically a recent trend. Some nearby internet celebrity bloggers even flew over overnight to catch he. So when you say that Gu Huiyan's rebellion is so serious, it's really thanks to these brothers. Gu Huiyan is really tragic and funny. These words spoken by his protagonist made everyone laugh. Pei Jingshu in the crowd was also trembling with laughter. It is worth mentioning that it was probably because Gu Huiyan looked here just now. Maybe someone in the crowd recognized Pei Jingshu, so some people were unconscious. Keep distance from big stars. Pei Jingshu had no choice but to walk forward and come closer to Gu Huiyan. While many people were taking pictures of Gu Huiyan, they were also taking pictures of her. Pei Jingshu really rarely does this kind of thing in public offline, so she just follows Gu Huiyan. The scene was full of laughter. And after the laughter, Gu Huiyan also became serious. Seeing more and more people, he said, "Let's do this. I'll sing a song for everyone. After I sing, you let us go. Then tell the people around you that if nothing happens, don't arrest me. Look at me." Originally he planned to beg for mercy, but Gu Huiyan said half of the words. Breathing oxygen again. Puff. Ha 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 ha, burp. Goose goose goose. Hey, I can't do it anymore. I'm laughing so hard. My stomach hurts from laughing so hard. You will get rich by laughing, ha ha ha. To be honest, while everyone at the scene was laughing, they also felt a little sorry for Gu Huiyan. Even the brother who Gu Huiyan accused of arresting him many times just now felt a little guilty. Gu Huiyan was also good-tempered, but if he asked others, he himself would suffer from altitude sickness, and if he was caught by someone and wanted to run around, he would have fallen out with him a long time ago. It's just him, he can still talk things over easily with the fans. Okay. Just now my brother-in-law shouted to promote his attitude. The others saw this. Good. I won't arrest you. Listen to you. Once it started, everyone else followed suit. After taking the oxygen, Gu Huiyan smiled helplessly and said nothing more. I just talked to the street singer guy next to me and borrowed a guitar to use. Sing a song for everyone. Elopement. Participating in a love show, this little guy is too down to earth. Author, Buletin Shi Swan Shi Shui Xian. Chapter 403. Oh. The atmosphere at the scene was good, and everyone was quite supportive. There was nothing they could do about it, but the person standing in front of them was Gu Huiyan. They have seen the superstars who shine brightly on the stage, they have also seen the superstars who are singing hard on the big screen, and they have even seen the superstars on the billboards that can be seen everywhere on the streets. But today was the first time they met the superstar who sang offline on the streets. Singers at the level of kings and queens of that day, many of them earn tens of millions in appearance fees alone. Singing a song is always worth a lot of money, and it's easy to stop singing. At the most basic level, a concert with tens of thousands of people is required to be able to perform. There is no one like Gu Huiyan. Dozens or hundreds of people sing offline in the streets. Gu Huiyan, he always sings when he should, as long as he is happy, and he has never been limited to these. That's all it is, and it's enough for fans to appreciate. Pa bang bang. There was applause at the scene, maybe because the atmosphere was good. In the past few years, Gu Huiyan had performed everywhere and accumulated rich stage experience. This was a small square, and the venue was quite big. Gu Huiyan simply called out to everyone. How about we sit down and sing? I feel that if elopement is sung, everyone should sit down and listen. Good. Sit down, sit down. The floor was not clean, but many people at the scene sat down without any hesitation. Gu Huiyan also greeted the street singer next to him, and the two sat down together. It just so happened that this guy had that kind of mazar, but he only had one. He handed it to Gu Huiyan, and Gu Huiyan said no, no, you don't need to sit down, you sit down. Ha ha. This amused some of the onlookers, and some couldn't help but say. He is so down to earth. To this day, probably because they have always seen Gu Huiyan through the internet and videos, many people still think that Gu Huiyan's down-to-earthness is just a persona. It's not always easy to make people believe something they've never seen before. But anyone who has met Gu Huiyan can feel a real down-to-earth from his behavior, his speech, and his various performances. A play can be performed, and expressions can also be performed, but state cannot be performed. Many things are really subconscious measures. As for Gu Huiyan, he finally accepted his brother's maza, mainly because it was more convenient to play the guitar while sitting like this, and he was not a pretentious person. Click, click, click. There were people nearby taking photos and videos of Gu Huiyan with their mobile phones, and some were using flashlights. The brothers in the front row sat down, but the brothers in the back remained seated because they couldn't see clearly. There were a lot of people around here, but it was just right, making the atmosphere a little more lively. At night, the cold air comes, and everyone around me is wrapped in jackets and down jackets. They can just stay warm by hugging each other. Dong dong. In this cold wind. Also surrounded by so many people. Moreover, in the hypoxic environment and the dim light of the street lights. Gu Huiyan played the guitar and sang softly. Dedicate your youth to the glorious city behind you. We are paying the price for this beautiful dream. Leave your love to the most sincere girl around me. You accompany me to sing, accompany me to wander, accompany me to suffer losses. It is worth mentioning that Gu Huiyan sang very passionately. Although his melody was not very dynamic, there was a sense of tearing in his voice. A few simple lyrics also ignited everyone's hearts. Oh! Everyone at the scene couldn't help but get goosebumps when Gu Huiyan sang the first line, "Dedicate your youth to the glorious city behind you." One thing they don't admit is that Gu Huiyan is really good at singing. Many of the people who go to Tibet are young people. People say that youth has no price. Hard seats go directly to LS. Many people just do it for their youth and for their own safety. Only faith enters the snow area. I want to see the place closest to the sky. I want to feel my hottest youth. It turns out that they were right. The snow area is really spectacular. From the urban area to the scenic spots and the scenery along the way, except for the harsh environment and climate, nothing will let you down. There is a lack of oxygen here, but there is no shortage of faith. The Bulletin Palace is very splendid, and the scenery from all angles from day to night is stunning. All of the above, aren't they what Gu Huiyan sang, "Dedicate your youth to the glorious city behind you"? Honestly. It's here. Just the first lyrics of Elopement are already right. And just when he sang the first line, everyone had goosebumps. Not to mention, when Gu Huiyan sang the line "Leave love to the most sincere girl beside me," he looked sideways at Pei Jingshu who was standing aside. Oh ho! There were many people booing at the scene, and many of them recognized Pei Jingshu. She always stood out no matter how tightly she was wrapped. Speaking of which, wanting to sprinkle sugar with singing like this seems to be something that Pei Ban takes care of CP has become accustomed to. But despite this, every time they do this, fans and passers-by will still be very excited, and they will burst into candy. Okay. Pei Jingshu in the crowd also had a pretty face with a slight blush. Fortunately, she was wearing a mask, otherwise she would have been so shy that she was ashamed. Dong dong dong. The melody of the guitar in Gu Huiyan's hand gradually became louder. He sang. Until now. It suddenly dawned on me. I dream of. It's true love and freedom. Wow. Everyone at the scene had goosebumps. When the words "My dream is true love and freedom" appeared on the oxygen-deficient urban streets, you couldn't imagine the shock that kind of intuitive stimulation would bring to you. Someone at the scene turned on the flashlight of his mobile phone and waved it. Others followed suit, and Gu Huiyan followed the trend and sang. I want to take you with me, to elope. Running to the farthest town. I want to take you with me, to elope. Be the happiest person you can be. Pa bang bang. Oh ho. Niu beep. When Gu Huiyan finished singing the section of Elopement, the applause and cheers from the crowd at the scene were already endless. Among them, the one who yelled the most fiercely was the brother who chased Gu Huayan across 2 streets. Gu Huayan could no longer tell whether he was a negative fan or a true fan, because huh, huh. Because after holding his breath and singing half of Elopement, Gu Huayan really couldn't hold back his breath. I paused my singing, moved my right hand away from the piano, grabbed the oxygen tank, and sucked in hard. Puff. Ah ha ha ha. Everyone at the scene burst into laughter again. Some people couldn't help but dislike it, saying, "Are you saying you can't just smoke after singing? This is very dramatic. I know you are short of oxygen, but don't inhale until you finish singing." He doesn't want his life. Ha ha ha. You name it, it's funny. The atmosphere at the scene was so good. Gu Huayan's half-song Elopement made these brothers enthusiastic. He was originally taking the opportunity to add fuel to the fire. No matter what he did, as long as the melody doesn't stop, everyone can support it, and it's okay to shout until your throat breaks. It wouldn't be a big deal for Kukazi to dump her on the spot. But unfortunately, he just had to turn around and take oxygen at the busiest time. The problem is, everyone has to let him suck it. If you don't breathe, you will be dead. Giggle. Even Pei Jingshu laughed so hard that her delicate body trembled. She thought about it, walked over, took the oxygen bottle from Gu Huayan's hand, and said, "I'll hold it for you." What she means is, you sing, and when you want to suck, you just signal and I will hand it to you. Oh. Many people at the scene couldn't help but cheer up. At first, there were some people standing behind who didn't recognize Pei Jingshu. They just watched a girl go to Gu Huayan and thought she was a fan. He was also startled and shouted that the wife should stay away from my brother, because my brother has a girlfriend. At that time, everyone around me was happy and shouted, "That's his girlfriend." Then, "Ah! That's Sister Pei. Damn it, I didn't recognize you when you were next to me just now. You think you are Gu Huayan? Are you face blind?" Ah ha ha ha. Speaking of the face blind joke, it still comes from Gu Huayan. No one has ever failed to recognize Pei Jingshu, who has the most distinctive appearance in domestic entertainment. Basically, only his closest boyfriend can't recognize her. Therefore, Gu Huayan is also said to be face blind. And later on, those who basically couldn't recognize Pei Jingshu were asked, "Do you think you are Gu Huayan?" It's also quite funny. Ah! Sister Pei. Some people in the back row who hadn't noticed Pei Jingshu shouted when they saw her coming out. Sometimes, God is so unfair. Many people have to earn things based on their strength and hard work. Pei Jingshu has everything with her face. Such an enviable popularity. Of course, what is even more enviable is Gu Huayan, who is able to hold such a beautiful woman in his arms. When everyone saw Pei Jingshu being so considerate to Gu Huayan offline and up close, and the intimacy and skill between their eyes and manners, they were really envious. Okay. Even though Gu Huayan and Pei Jingshu have been in love for nearly 5 years, everyone's envy is still beyond words. Who makes Pei Jingshu so beautiful? He he he. Hearing those sour sounds, Gu Huayan secretly rejoiced and even smiled secretly. Pei Jingshu, on the other hand, didn't have the airs of a star at all. She squatted next to Gu Huayan and helped him carry the oxygen bottle, ready at any time. He even sprayed Gu Huayan twice just now. Gu Huayan is also a real old man. Because it was Pei Jingshu who was helping him squirt, he took a few more puffs. Some viewers around me couldn't stand it anymore and couldn't help but complain. What a big love brain. In the past, when they first fell in love, some people always said that Pei Jingshu was a love brain. But later everyone discovered that Gu Huayan was, to a certain extent, even more romantic than Pei Jingshu. When two love minds come together, it would be weird if they weren't sweet, okay. Speaking of which, it was all thanks to Pei Jingshu, otherwise Gu Huiyan would have been left in the cold after taking 2 breaths of oxygen. Because of her presence, the enthusiasm of the audience not only did not recede, but became even more enthusiastic as if they had been given more fuel. Dong dong. Gu Huiyan also took advantage of the situation and started singing again. In a familiar foreign land, I will exile myself year after year. Through the flowers, through the thorns, just for the land of freedom. When it comes to live singing, Gu Huiyan rarely sings the full version with the B section, but with this atmosphere today, if you don't sing the second half, you won't feel comfortable. Especially the lyrics in the second half have a somewhat confession meaning. For example, in the next sentence, Gu Huiyan just turned around and sang to Pei Jingshu, who was squatting next to him with an oxygen bottle and wearing a mask, but always looking at him with a pair of bright eyes. In the city of desire, you are me. The last faith. White as a ray of joy. Light up my heart. Then. As soon as these lyrics come out, oh. Just light it up for the people at the scene, okay. Sometimes Gu Huiyan's enunciation is not clear when he sings, but some songs are really clear in enunciation, such as this song Elopement. Although there are no lyrics and subtitles, every audience can clearly hear what he sings. It is precisely because of this that everyone's enthusiasm was ignited. Obviously. Just. Pei Jingshu crossed the crowd and went to his side. She thoughtfully helped him hold the oxygen bottle and stayed with him. Now. He just sang these few lines, which are not too romantic at all. He compared Pei Jingshu to Faith. In Sex and the City, you are my last belief. Pei Jingshu has always been known as White Moonlight, but in Gu Huiyan's previous songs, there are few metaphors for white moonlight. Some people have complained about this before, but unexpectedly, Gu Huiyan sang the so-called white moonlight in such a song describing faith. His lyrics are never boring. He can always sing the most intuitive expression in the most appropriate place and in the most ingenious way. Lyrics like White as a ray of joy illuminate my heart are far more poignant than the so-called white moonlight. Ah! Some people at the scene were already shouting uncharacteristically. Some people even praised Gu Huiyan directly. Niu Beep. In the first half of the song Elopement, Gu Huiyan sings about faith, about youth, and about those absurd but extremely memorable years. In the second half, he sang as if he could only feel it from the nearest distance, his white moonlight, Pei Jingshu. At this time, it was night. She is obviously a big star, but she has always had a face that dominates the world. Her face dominates the world, and she is the domestic entertainment beauty Pei Jingshu who is infinitely noble. At this moment, she was like a little girl messing around with her boyfriend, holding an oxygen bottle and squatting obediently next to Gu Huiyan. Listening to him sing, watching him make trouble, you will blush at his lyrics, and you will feel shy because of other people's heckles. At that moment, that kind of emotional resonance was really exciting. To be honest, Elope is really suitable for expressing love. The title of the song itself is a very romantic thing, and the so-called elope with you is very easy to get excited about. Haha. Gu Huiyan laughed and sang again. Don't be sad anymore. I see hope. Do you still have the courage to leave with me? Gu Huiyan's rich stage experience made it clear that even if it was the first time he sang Elopement, he still had the ability to interact with everyone. Look. Come together. He shouted and sang. I want to take you with me. The next moment, he waved his hands and closed his mouth, and then everyone shouted those 2 words in unison. Elopement. Running to the farthest town. Gu Huiyan continued to wave his hands and sing. I want to take you with me. Everyone shouted again. Elopement. Be the happiest person you can be. In the crowded streets of the city at night, so many people shouted the word elope together. Although the oxygen concentration at this time has gradually decreased with the night, the feeling of faith is gradually rising. Love will always rise in the east and fall in the west, but romance will always last until death. Take you and elope. Gu Huiyan sang loudly, and he even gave up the microphone at this moment. He used the appeal of music to an extreme. Take you and elope. Dong dong. With the last few strings twitching, Gu Huiyan ended the song elopement perfectly. Oh. Ah. Pa bang bang. Niu beep. 666. The audience at the scene gave Gu Huiyan all the applause and cheers they could give at that moment. To be honest, Gu Huiyan didn't charge, otherwise they would be willing to spend money to pay for the ticket. Excluding the songs, let's just talk about Gu Huiyan singing just now. He really explained with practical actions what it means to be the king of singing skills. Regardless of the performance of his temporary performance, the quality of his singing, the texture of his voice, his singing skills, and his interaction with the audience, they all reached an impeccable level. People say that a wolf travels 1,000 miles to eat meat, and a dog travels 1,000 miles to eat meat. Just think of Huiyan's live show. You can also be popular as a street singer, right? After listening to one of his songs, probably everyone's most intuitive feeling is, as expected of Gu Huiyan, he deserves his reputation. There is only praise for him, nothing to belittle. A professional singer is a professional, and a king is a king. There's no comparison. The street singer next to me really has no other choice but to worship. Haha, thank you. Facing such enthusiastic cheers and applause, Gu Huiyan laughed and thanked him, then handed the guitar back to the guy next to him and patted him on the shoulder, looking very enthusiastic and fitting the image of a high-quality idol. At this time, there were already a lot of people nearby. Many people came after hearing the news, not only from the nearby streets, but also some people who had been resting in the hotel immediately came to watch after hearing the news. Even though it was already nighttime and there were not many cars on the street, it still caused some congestion. This caused traffic jams in just 10 minutes. This is the influence and appeal of Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu. Let's go. Gu Huiyan originally wanted to leave with Pei Jingshu. Before singing Elopement, he had discussed it with his brothers and left immediately after singing, so as not to cause any trouble to the other party. At this moment, I do plan to leave. But who knows? Proposal. I don't know who shouted this in the crowd. Then. Unstoppable. Oh. Proposal. Propose. Propose. Everyone shouted along. Gu Huiyan. What's the situation? Why did you propose marriage? Why the hell does this involve a proposal? Participating in a love show, this little guy is too down to earth. Author, Buletin Shi Swan Shi Shui Xian. Chapter 404. Proposal. 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 I don't know what happened, but the scene directly became a proposal scene. Not to mention Gu Huiyan, even Pei Jingshu was confused. But this doesn't seem to be unimaginable. After all, Gu Huiyan just sang a song Elope, and the phrase take you and elope is still echoing in the minds of the audience. Just the lyrics of the main song in section B, it sounds like it's about confessing. Many people who came later didn't know what was going on. When Gu Huiyan appeared on the street, they never thought that he was really singing for everyone on the spur of the moment. They thought that today was a carefully planned proposal. So, naturally, they will boo. Oh. Proposal. The voices on the scene are getting stronger and stronger, and the situation is getting worse. Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu have been dating for 5 years. Generally, couples who have been dating for such a long time have basically become family members, and even some habits will adapt to each other. And if we haven't gotten married after talking for so long, it seems a little unreasonable. 5 precious years of each other's youth were given to each other, and there was no ending, which was ridiculous. So starting this year, whenever there are videos of Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu, and in the dynamic comment area, there are basically comments urging marriage such as "Aren't you two getting married yet?" Some people even said that I have already prepared some of the money. Even some artist friends often ask them if they are okay. Maybe many people on the internet will play jokes and say that Pei Jingshu is unwilling to give Gu Huiyan a status, but in fact many discerning people can see that Pei Jingshu is very easygoing. She is such a husband sings and the wife is accommodating person. As long as Gu Huiyan wants, she aren't you ready to agree at any time. So in fact, to put it bluntly, all that is missing is a proposal. Gu Huiyan, the old man, has never learned to take the initiative. Before he got back together with Pei Jingshu, his fans even asked him to chase Pei Jingshu at the New Year's Eve. "You said, we've been talking about this for 5 years, and everything is going smoothly in career and life. It's not like I don't have time. I've been resting since I came back from a busy overseas tour last year. I didn't even go to the Spring Festival Gala. I even have time to travel here. Why can't you plan a proposal to propose to Pei Jingshu?" It is precisely because of these preconditions. So, whether they are fans or passers-by, when they see Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu appear here and sing "Elope," they will all think that Gu Huiyan is going to propose to Pei Jingshu. Finally. Speaking of which, Pei Ban took care of CP was witnessed by everyone all the way. If the proposal was also witnessed in this way, it would be really good and too high. The central area crowded with people. A slight blush appeared on Pei Jingshu's beautiful face under the white mask. She was somewhat shy and embarrassed, and turned to look at Gu Huiyan. At that moment, Pei Jingshu was actually a little overthinking. Although she knew that they came here on an impromptu basis, she also wondered whether this was deliberately arranged by Gu Huiyan. Deliberately giving yourself a surprise? Did you sing "Elope" to yourself on purpose? If it is like this, it's actually quite romantic. Under the booing of so many people, if he really took out a ring, Pei Jingshu would really not be able to refuse this kind of romance. But she didn't know why, but if that was the case, she always had a strange feeling that she couldn't explain. They were watched by too many people along the way. Being watched all the time is like a kind of kidnapping, a bit of a constraint. They are celebrities, but when it comes to their personal affairs and major life events, they actually want to be kept private. Propose. The sound of booing is still heard. Haha, thank you everyone. It is worth mentioning that Gu Huiyan laughed and waved his hand at this time. When the crowd became quiet for a while, he glanced at Pei Jingshu, thought for a while, and then told everyone. "I'm proposing. I will, and it will be soon." When he said this, many people at the scene were already booing. However, Gu Huiyan still waved his hands and said with a silly smile. "But not now." As soon as these words came out, alas, there was an immediate outcry at the scene. "MD, the old six, is still dragging on. It's such a good atmosphere today, and why don't you propose? Do you really want Sister Pei to wait for you until you grow old?" Haha. Gu Huiyan laughed, and then took Pei Jingshu's hand. He was paying attention to Pei Jingshu's expression. He saw that Pei Jingshu's eyes dimmed for a moment when he said it wasn't today, but he didn't. Just for a moment. Gu Huiyan didn't take it seriously at this moment. He just explained. "I didn't make any preparations today, I didn't bring anything with me. Maybe I could just get a ring and use it as a ring, but that would be too hasty and too pale." Everyone thought this was quite reasonable. Some people in the crowd also said that Gu Huiyan has not been so straight in the past 2 years. In fact, the romance of straight men and the romance of girls are often two different types. Many straight men think that when it comes to confession or proposal, it only needs to be romantic, as long as there are many people, and just go up to them. So there is even a scene where as long as people are making noises and the atmosphere is good, just grab something and get a can buckle and it can be used as a ring. But they still don't understand why girls are angry. Of course you will be angry. So confession and marriage proposal are things that may happen once in a lifetime, and they need to be very formal and romantic, right? If you pick up something casually and make it on a whim, wouldn't that look very casual? Just like when you get married, can you say that you just find a roadside stall and cook a few portions of egg fried rice and then have your wedding? What a joke. To Gu Huiyan, Pei Jingshu was quite important. Although he knew very well that Pei Jingshu was not picky and would not feel informal, it was not fair to her. Ah! Many people at the scene were somewhat disappointed. I thought I could witness the proposal of Pei Ban takes care of CP with my own eyes and witness the happy ending. Gu Huiyan grinned and turned to look at Pei Jingshu. Pei Jingshu shrugged helplessly. There was not much between the two of them, they just looked at each other and smiled. Okay. Goodbye. Go back and rest early. Gu Huiyan held Pei Jingshu's hand and walked in front, past the relatively less crowded crowd on the left, and was about to leave. Oh, right. Before he left, he specifically said to the brother who had chased him for 2 streets and the few beside him. Remember not to chase me tomorrow. As soon as this statement came out. Puff. Ha ha ha. The scene burst into laughter. Later, Gu Huiyan and his elopement were trending on the search, and the ranking was quite high, even higher than the recent craze of catching Gu Huiyan. This is quite normal. Every time a new work comes out, Gu Huiyan will always book the hot search early. However, releasing a new work also means recording songs, so Jiang's mother called him that night to ask when he would record Elopement. Gu Huiyan was speechless for a while, saying that we would talk about it later. This is a good time, but you suddenly want me to go back and record songs. Are you kidding me? Jiang's mother didn't push her. After all, it wasn't the first time Gu Huiyan had delayed recording a song. Now, Gu Huiyan was also boss Gu and was no longer a soldier under her, so she couldn't push him. What Gu Huiyan didn't expect was that Jiang's mother would ask him instead of talking about recording songs. So when do you plan to propose to Pei Jingshu? At that time, Gu Huiyan had a question mark on his face, saying that even if everyone cared about this matter, you wouldn't be so concerned. Zhang Ma laughed and said that if you have an idea, hurry up and realize it. I will find someone to help you market it in advance and do a warm-up. Gu Huiyan rolled his eyes, indicating that you are still thinking like a businessman and are only interested in profit. No need. In the end, Gu Huiyan rejected Zhang Ma's kindness. He said that they had been watched by too many people along the way. He didn't want his proposal to be stared at, so he asked his assistant to take a camera to record it. If Pei Jingshu wanted to, he could send it out, and if he didn't, he could just treat it as a memory. The two of them will watch if nothing happens in the future. It's quite romantic. Mother Zhang couldn't help but roll her eyes and almost wanted to call Gu Huiyan a little public servant. MD knew romance better than girls. Okay, you guys have fun. Zhang Ma shook her head and smiled, then hung up the phone. She is quite busy here. Jing and media has been developing rapidly in the past 2 years. Although she had thought about partnering with Gu Huiyan, she never thought that it would have such a good prospect. Gu Huiyan, this guy, really doesn't have a choice in scripts and songs. Occasionally, we also come up with a few variety show ideas. Well. After finishing the phone call in the early morning, Zhang Dan rubbed her forehead. Recently, she was reading some foreign reports. The entertainment industry leads the trend, and both domestic and foreign countries need to pay attention at all times. She originally planned to take a look and rest, but suddenly she saw something. Very strange news. It's related to Shang's Huiyan. Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu went to Namjak Barway the next day, which is the Ningqi line. Several scenic spots such as the Yarlung Zangbo Grand Canyon and Beisonkyo are worth visiting. Originally, Gu Huiyan also considered going to the Everest line, but the environment there is really too bad. If you want to see the Rizao-Jinshan mountain on Mount Everest, you have to spend the night there. Even if it is not a pavilion, the environment is not good, and there are also dry toilets. Gu Huiyan could bear it, but he couldn't let Pei Jingshu suffer like this. Relatively speaking, the environment here is better and the altitude is somewhat lower. Speaking of altitude, I have been in the city for many days. Gu Huiyan should be able to adapt to the high altitude, but he was caught running for several days. It was really no longer possible and he couldn't afford it, so he simply carried an oxygen bottle. The tour guide driver had an oxygen bottle in his car, which he said was enough for Gu Huiyan to breathe for several days. Even so, Pei Jingshu still asked her assistant to get several portable oxygen bottles, the kind of small ones that can be carried on the front and behind the body. They last longer and are better than the portable ones that cost 10 yuan anyway. Better. The conditions for the past few days along the way were actually quite difficult, but the scenery was really good. Because it was a private tour guide, the time arrangement was relatively ample, so it was quite comfortable. Speaking of hypoxia, it is true that Gu Huiyan carries an oxygen bottle almost every day. Even Pei Jingshu has to carry it when she goes to a relatively high altitude of more than 4,000 meters. Originally, they needed an assistant to take care of them, but it turned out that the assistant couldn't move anywhere. Zhang Nuan, the little Kalamai, was not as good as Gu Huiyan in the city, so he didn't even dare to follow him for fear of being delayed. The climate was a bit cold, but fortunately the driver carried a large thermos bottle and filled it with hot water every time he passed the supply station, so it was still warm along the way. Huh. Gu Huiyan seems to be out of breath all the time. Here, Gu Lalu, who used to be lively and energetic, seems to have lost all his vitality. He is feeling weak, especially after arriving at a higher altitude. He walks slowly, like an old man, and is very weak. Very empty. Are you okay? At these times, Pei Jingshu would support him, even though she looked very thin and didn't have much strength. It's okay, no problem. Gu Huiyan waved his hands. It was morning now, it was dark and quite cold. What they wanted to see was the Rizao-Jinshan mountain at Namjak-Berwei Peak. The local tour guide told them that the Rizao-Jinshan mountain of Namjak-Berwei Peak is more beautiful than Mount Everest. It is said that if you are lucky enough to see it, you will have a wonderful life in the future. There are also some local legends here. It is said that because its main peak towers into the clouds, it is said that the gods in the sky often come to gather on it to simmer mulberry trees. The flag clouds caused by high-altitude winds are the mulberry smoke lit by the gods. Of course, this is just one version. There are so many different legends, and they are all man-made. Just listen to them and feel the romance. The hotel they stayed in was actually a viewing type, and they could see the Rizao-Jinshan mountain without going out. However, they felt that there was no sense of ceremony in this way. It was far better to see it with the naked eye at close range through glass. So I went out early. It is worth mentioning that there is no sun today and there are clouds floating in the sky. Even the tour guide said that the sun may not shine on Jinshan mountain today. In itself, the Rizao-Jinshan of Namjak-Berwei Peak is difficult to see. It can be seen only 24 days out of 365 days a year. It is known as 9 out of 10 people never see it, which is even rarer than the Rizao-Jinshan of Mount Everest. The weather they came to today was not very good. There were many clouds in the sky, so it was indeed a bit hanging. Want to go back? Gu Huiyan sat down to rest and asked Pei Jingshu. It was a cold day, and their hands were a little cold. Even so, Pei Jingshu shook her head, chuckled and said, "It's here, just wait a moment." Gu Huiyan nodded. He held Pei Jingshu's hand in his left hand, held a cane in his right hand, carried an oxygen tank in front of him, and had an oxygen tube inserted in his nose. It looked miserable. Hoo hoo. It was still dark, and the cold wind kept blowing, which made people's faces feel a little painful. It's dark and cloudy. Looking at the entire mountain range of Namjagberwe from here, you can basically not see the peaks, they are all wrapped in clouds. Gu Huiyan thought for a while and asked Pei Jingshu. A few days ago in the city, if I really proposed, would you agree? When asked, Pei Jingshu was stunned. She looked over blankly, her long eyelashes trembling slightly, and there was a slight blush on her fair and pretty face without a mask, which was very conspicuous. She thought about it and said quite naturally. How could anyone ask so straightforwardly? A marriage proposal should be kept mysterious and a surprise, so she didn't mention anything about that day in the past few days, thinking that Gu Huiyan also wanted to keep it a surprise. Gu Huiyan grinned and said, "We have been dating for 5 years." They were waiting for the sunrise and were idle. They simply chatted about what had happened in the past few years, how Pei Jingshu thought of him when they first met, and the various disturbances that happened later. Meeting parents for the first time. Then the next 3 years were smooth sailing. Maybe life was too smooth. They were both used to being around each other. They hadn't really had any quarrels in the past few years. It was strange. Maybe it was like this when two people in love came together. Let me take a picture for you. Although the Rizao Jinshin has not yet appeared, although there may not be the Rizao Jinshin today, even though the genius has just been polished at this time. Gu Huiyan still held the camera and squatted in front of Pei Jingshu to take pictures for her. Speaking of which, after so many days of shooting and being complained about so many times by Zhang Nuan, Gu Huiyan has recently learned the photography angle and knows how to take photos of people's height while squatting down. Huh. But when squatting, Gu Huiyan was still a little out of breath. The altitude here is indeed a bit high. Just look at Gu Huiyan's miserable appearance at this time. He was carrying an oxygen bottle and holding a camera. He couldn't breathe, but he still insisted on taking pictures of Pei Jingshu. Pook. Pei Jingshu couldn't help but laugh and said, "When the company plans programs in the future, if you are there, I will suggest them to come here." "Why?" Gu Huiyan asked. Pei Jingshu replied, "Because you will be honest here." Except when he was sick, Gu Huiyan would only be so honest when he was here. Gu Huiyan. Aim. Pei Jingshu giggled, and then posed in a few very casual poses. With her appearance, she really doesn't care about the scenery or shooting techniques. She looks good in any photo. Click, click, click. Gu Huiyan took several photos. It was almost dawn at this time. It is worth mentioning that the clouds on Namjagberwe Peak began to slowly disperse. However, Gu Huiyan didn't notice this, and Pei Jingshu definitely didn't notice either since her back was turned. They all thought that they would not be able to see the golden mountain of sunshine today. Then, after Gu Huiyan took the photo, he didn't even get up. He said hello to the assistant not far away, who ran over with a small portable camera. As for Gu Huiyan, he took out a small box from his pocket. "Open it, there is a proposal ring." Hiss. At that time, Pei Jingshu subconsciously raised her jade hand to cover her mouth and took a breath of air. A few tears began to appear in her watery eyes. "Here we come." Still here. It came so unexpectedly and so plainly. But it suits her very well. Along the way, she was watched by too many people. If she was proposing, she really didn't want to be watched by many people. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Participating in a love show, this little guy is too down to earth. Author, Buletin Shi Swan Shi Shui Xian. Chapter 405. The simple outdoor environment, the foot of the snow-capped mountains with anoxia, the low temperature, and the poor environment were not good in any aspect. Most girls dream of proposing in front of many people, either in the presence of various relatives and friends, or at a concert of a singer they all like. During Gu Huiyan's domestic tour that year, there were several proposals for marriage. In any case, there should be many witnesses. Should. Very romantic. But it seems Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu's proposal could not be called romantic. Logically speaking, they should be the most romantic couple. After all, they are celebrities, and their status has always been envied by others. The dog food they have spread along the way has also been shared by countless couples. Dreamt of. The proposal of Pei Ban takes care of CP should also be romantic to the extreme. Many netizens have fantasized about their proposal scene before. For example, at Pei Jingshu's solo concert, Gu Huiyan suddenly made a surprise appearance, holding flowers, dressed decently, and sang a newly written song for proposal. And with the cheers and applause of all the audience present, he knelt down on one knee and presented Pei Jingshu with a ring. Then the next day, the two of them directly dominated the hot searches on various platforms for a whole day to announce the good news. Of course there are different versions, and some people have even thought about Pei Jingshu proposing to Gu Huiyan. But no one had ever thought that their proposal would be so crude. Not only did he not have any grand arrangements, nor did he invite any friends, there was even only one assistant among the onlookers. He also used a portable camera to take on the responsibility of the camera teacher. The environment was not good, and Pei Jingshu did not wear makeup. Although she was naturally beautiful and did not need makeup to look like a beauty god, she could not be said to be the most beautiful today. Gu Huiyan was even worse. Not to mention his shabby appearance, he also had an oxygen bottle on his back and an oxygen tube under his nose. No matter how miserable it looked. No music, no audience, no voices, nothing. He simply highlighted the word simple to the fullest. Except for the priceless engagement ring he took out, the rest, if it were an ordinary girl, would have turned her back and left. Is it so casual? But Pei Jingshu was not angry. Not only that. She was even a little moved. Maybe other girls would yearn for a very romantic proposal and many people to send blessings to them, but she doesn't. Why? Because she is Pei Jingshu. She is the noble and gorgeous queen, the internal entertainment beauty since her debut, the one who always has all kinds of flowers and applause, and can arouse the cheers of the whole audience just when she appears on the stage, Pei Jingshu. Does she lack the crowd's attention? Did she get less applause and cheers? Blessing, when has she not had it? Others envy and yearn for it because they have never had it, or rarely have it. But Pei Jingshu has those all the time and everywhere. She has long been used to those. Along the way, she and Gu Huiyan also received too much attention. Because of their status, no matter whether they were in the early stages of their relationship or later broke up or got back together, they were always watched. Although there is nothing wrong with this, there are many people blessing you, but it is always like this, it feels meaningless, and there is no surprise. For things like proposal, the important thing is not whether others are watching, whether there are people blessing or cheering, the important thing is the surprise. You can make her surprised, happy, surprised, and very happy, and that's the best. If Gu Huiyan made a surprise appearance at one of her concerts as those netizens said, she would actually be very happy, but it would lack a bit of surprise. On the contrary, it is like this now. It was very unexpected, and it made Pei Jingshu very happy inexplicably. What makes her happy is not only the surprise, but also that she knows very well that Gu Huiyan understands her. At this moment, although there was no audience, no cheers, and no blessings, Pei Jingshu was very happy. She raised her jade hands to cover her mouth happily. Although there were crystal tears in her eyes. Huh. It is easy to lack oxygen when squatting on the ground. Gu Huiyan took a few big breaths, then opened the box containing the ring and said with a wry smile. "Aren't you always curious about why I insist on wanting to come to XZ even though my body can't adapt, can't adapt to the environment here?" Gu Huiyan was really miserable. The altitude where they were at was a bit high, and it was still early in the morning when the air content was not very high, so they had to pause in mid-sentence when speaking. This made the proposal scene that was supposed to be very touching, inexplicably humorous and funny. Pook. His appearance made Pei Jingshu laugh. Pei Jingshu was obviously very moved, but she also found it funny. She didn't blame her. At this time, any audience present would be made to laugh when they saw Gu Huiyan, a miserable and funny bear. The oxygen tank continued to release oxygen. Gu Huiyan took in the oxygen for a while and took a breath. Then he picked up the ring box and looked at Pei Jingshu seriously and said, "Because I want to propose to you somewhere closer to the sky." Even though he was miserable and funny at the moment, Pei Jingshu felt that he was really handsome when he said these words. Yes. She also wondered for several days why Gu Huiyan insisted on coming here. Although I had some guesses that he might want to propose to me here, I never thought about what he would do, so I didn't think about it deeply. And Gu Huiyan's reason did satisfy her. I want to propose to her closer to the sky. Isn't the scene romantic enough? Ah! The assistant with the camera next to her was about to jump with excitement. It was hard for her to imagine what kind of uproar the scene would cause on the internet if it were thrown out afterwards. Fans and passers-by from both sides will explode on the spot. Okay. Gu Huiyan really knows how to be romantic. Just in time. The sky is slowly getting brighter. The clouds covering Namjagberwei Peak slowly drifted away. The first ray of sunshine in the morning, brilliant and golden, slowly shone on the top of Namjagberwei Peak. At that moment, Pei Jingshu stood blankly in front of Gu Huiyan, while Gu Huiyan knelt on one knee. He threw the camera aside and tore off the bag on his body. In his hand, he only held a box of rings. He took off the ring and held it up. Call. After taking a deep breath to ensure that he would not be short of oxygen, Gu Huiyan shouted. "Pei Jingshu, will you marry me?" That's when the golden light slowly shone on the top of Namjagberwei Peak. God cooperated, and a perfect sunshine on the golden mountain appeared behind Pei Jingshu, providing them with the most perfect background. At that moment, the assistant in charge of the camera beside him had goosebumps all over his body. It was precisely because the two of them had been watched by everyone all the way. Now that they have cultivated themselves, they are very excited from the perspective of a bystander. At this time, anyone watching would definitely shout in unison. Promise him. Promise him. Promise him. Marry him. Marry him. Marry him. Pei Jingshu's delicate body trembled slightly, her beautiful face was full of emotion, and she was moved to tears. She nodded without any hesitation and stretched out her left hand. Everything went as planned, without any surprises. As if everything comes naturally. And in fact, nowadays, they will no longer have any accidents. Gu Huiyan put the ring on Pei Jingshu's slender and white left middle finger. Generally, the proposal ring is worn on the middle finger, only the wedding ring is worn on the ring finger. Gu Huiyan was very detailed in this regard. He would definitely not have to ask his mother which hand she was wearing when proposing. Ah! The assistants around me were so excited that they jumped up and couldn't wait to send this video out for everyone to see. It's so good to drink, okay. Originally, everything was going quite smoothly. If the proposal is successful, then the kiss will definitely follow. However, due to squatting for a long time and lack of oxygen, when Gu Huiyan stood up, stars appeared in front of his eyes. Hey! Pei Jingshu didn't even wait for him to kiss her, she just went over to help Gu Huiyan with snot and tears, not knowing whether to cry or laugh. The two looked at each other. Ha ha! They all laughed involuntarily. I feel that this proposal is really simple and hasty, but it is so deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. Pei Jingshu thought that she would probably never forget how embarrassed Gu Huiyan was when he proposed to her, unable to breathe and still sucking oxygen. Thinking back on it, I can't help but laugh. So funny. Oh, you guys, look. It was at this moment that the blind camera assistant finally noticed the Rizao Jinshin. Pointing to the back, shouting at them. Oh. When Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu looked back, what they saw was the complete version and heyday of Rizao Jinshin. Looking at the Golden Mountains, Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu, who had just decided to be privately married, were filled with joy. Although they have been in love for 5 years and a lot of their passion has slowly faded, the feeling they have now is really unforgettable. Well. Pei Jingshu was stunned when Gu Huiyan kissed her. His lips were a little cold, but they brought Pei Jingshu the greatest warmth. Let her be immersed in it. The next day, Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu were hotly searched. Hashtag Gu Huiyan proposed to Pei Jingshu at the foot of Rizao Jinshan Mountain at Namjak Berwei Peak. Hashtag. This hot search, not surprisingly, dominated the hot search lists on all platforms. Itself. Gu Huiyan felt that if Pei Jingshu wanted to keep a low profile, she would not send out the recorded video. The purpose of asking his assistant to help record it was to record it. Record this moment for both of them to watch years later. But Pei Jingshu felt that the proposal was not allowed to be seen by everyone and was avoided by everyone. If the video was not shown to them, they would really explode. Fans are all supporters, so you can't be too cruel to your fans. She is always such a fan. So the video was posted, and that's how the hot searches came about. After watching the video, netizens really didn't know whether to cry or laugh. It's all said below. No, so crude. This is how you treat my sister Pei, Gu Laoliu. Ha ha ha, Sister Pei said that she didn't want to be watched by too many people to propose. It feels like if we were all watching, it would be like forcing Sister Pei to agree. That's right. When they got back together, it felt like we were forcing them to get back together, haha. That is to say, no one really thinks that Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu can't propose in front of everyone, right? They don't want to, they just like it like this, okay. A proposal is a matter between two people. I think it's fine as long as the other person is happy. There's nothing wrong with it. Haha, Gu Huiyan is so miserable. He can't even speak clearly while carrying that oxygen tank. We were supposed to kiss, but he almost fainted due to lack of oxygen, ha ha ha, I really didn't hold back at that time. Gu Huiyan, a man who even proposes is embarrassed. Ha ha ha, he really understands romance. I feel like he could propose at the concert just like the netizens said, but he didn't do it. He understands Sister Pei. The two of them are always watched by everyone. It feels like everyone is forcing them. It is not appropriate to propose and be forced to agree. Many fans of Pei Jingshu's family did not buy into the simple marriage proposal ceremony, and most of them defended Pei Jingshu's injustice. Fortunately, everyone wished them well, and Pei Jingshu also said that she liked this proposal very much, so it didn't cause much trouble. Everyone has already proposed, so it's really not appropriate to make a fuss about the dinner party at this time. From behind, there was just a sound of blessings. Someone asked Gu Huiyan on the internet when he planned to get married. Pei Jingshu originally thought that Gu Huiyan was not prepared. It is not that easy to get married these days. Even popular hotels for weddings have to be booked 6 months to a year in advance. In China, many first-line hotels, famous hotels in the city, are even more crowded and have to queue up. Besides, they're not even engaged yet. Except for the parents of both parties meeting, there was nothing else. Who would have known that Gu Huiyan had already prepared in advance? The place for the engagement was set in Shanghai. For the place of the wedding, he chose an old castle manor abroad. There was a very famous church in the manor, and many celebrities had their weddings there. The wedding was very romantic. He kept the specific location secret from all netizens, but said that it had been booked in advance and that all relatives and friends would be notified by then. This surprised Pei Jingshu. She didn't expect Gu Huiyan to do so much without telling her. The most important point is that Gu Huiyan has no intention of accepting any sponsorship. As a top-level superstar of the king's level, whenever Gu Huiyan holds a large-scale event, even his wedding, there will always be various sponsors who want to get involved and get a piece of the pie. When many celebrities and artists get married, they will also accept some sponsorships and the like, and some will make money through weddings. This is just like a commercial performance such as a concert, and there is income. Therefore, many celebrity weddings are also called a wedding for the media. Not only Gu Huiyan, but also Pei Jingshu. Their wedding has attracted much attention from the outside world. If they want to attract sponsorship, they will really get it, and they will get the most luxurious sponsorship lineup in the entire entertainment industry. As soon as the news of Gu Huiyan's successful proposal to Pei Jingshu came out, countless sponsors offered their olive branches to Gu Huiyan's Jing'an media. Unfortunately, they were all rejected by Gu Huiyan. Gu Huiyan did not choose to accept any sponsorship. He chose to organize it himself to give Pei Jingshu a perfect wedding. In order not to attract outside attention and cause unnecessary trouble, he did not even announce the location of the wedding. Pei Jingshu couldn't be more satisfied with these points. She never said it, but Gu Huiyan seemed to understand it very well, which made her very satisfied. Just occasionally, she couldn't help but ask Gu Huiyan. "You have arranged it in advance. Aren't you afraid that I won't agree to it?" It seems that Gu Huiyan inspected all the wedding venues and wedding banquet venues abroad during his overseas tour last year. He made the decision directly after the inspection. He didn't tell Pei Jingshu about these. The reservation deposits at those places are not low either. In response, Gu Huiyan just grinned and said, "Do you know?" Pei Jingshu stared at him for a while, but in the end she just turned her head to the side with a blush on her pretty face, pursed her lips, and flipped her hair to hide her inner helplessness. How could she not agree to Gu Huiyan's proposal? This year, Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu put down most of their work and chose to devote themselves to the preparations for the wedding. From wedding attire to jewelry selection, they do it all themselves. Just the engagement ceremony in the middle of the year was enviable, and they chose October for their wedding. On that day, Pei Jingshu wore a sparkling diamond crown and an extra long heart-shaped backless wedding dress, and walked into the sacred auditorium under the witness of all her relatives and friends. Pei Jingshu was very luxurious that day. Although she was famous for her appearance and temperament in the past, and there were countless beautiful scenes, she seemed to be the most beautiful among so many divine scenes that day. Later, someone uncovered it and said that the diamond crown Pei Jingshu wore on her head was inlaid with 1,296 diamonds. It was priceless and was designed by a famous foreign brand. They were exclusively supplied to foreign royal families. Of course, the luxury is not only the crown, but also the venue and various teams. Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu even arranged the air tickets and accommodation for all their relatives and friends. They even invited relatives at home, which was very generous. These will not be listed one by one. It is worth mentioning that Gu Huiyan personally composed a wedding march for Pei Jingshu, which was played live by a top international band at their wedding. The atmosphere was so romantic that it made people want to cry. At the wedding, Gu Huiyan was wearing a black suit. He was always handsome when he was well groomed. When he held Pei Jingshu's hand and walked among the blessings of relatives and friends, the scene was really touching. Later, someone said that Gu Huiyan's wedding to Pei Jingshu fulfilled all the girls' wedding fantasies. When the proposal video came out, some people said that Sister Pei would suffer with him. This old lady knows how to live. As soon as the wedding scene came out, these stubborn people shut up completely. Gu Tianwang, who has always been known for his down-to-earth spirit, also spent a lot of money this time. Maybe his daily life is quite simple, but he is always willing to give Pei Jingshu the best. If you achieve the right result through cultivation in this way, it will be considered complete and complete. Everyone will give an ending. It should be finished within a few days. It's pretty fast. Thank you for your support, haha. Participating in a love show, this little guy is too down to earth. Author, Buletin Shi Swan Shi Shui Xian. Chapter 406. In the same year, winter. Shower. Shang Zuoyan hurriedly arranged her clothes and went out, shouting. Auntie, give me the gray bag I brought back yesterday. Hurry up, I don't have time to grab makeup. The deep winter in Seoul is still so cold, and people are shivering from the cold. Shang Zuoyan doesn't like to go out to work at this time. Winter is really the season that female celebrities dislike the most. But there is no other way, I always have to earn money for milk powder for my daughter. Gu Huiyan is really a talent. Shang Zuoyan never thought that he could write foreign language songs so well. The foreign language album she released this year was well received in overseas markets. She has been so busy recently that she can't spare any time. I go out and go home very rarely. She felt that if she continued to be busy like this, Gu Xiyan would forget what her mother looked like. I'm coming. Her aunt also hurriedly helped her get her bag and said. If you're really too busy, it doesn't matter if you live outside. You won't have to rush out so early in the morning. At this time, it was still dark, and Shang Zuoyan was about to go out to grab makeup. In fact, she doesn't have to do this at all. Most artists must grab makeup at their own residence. They just need to get up early and wait for the staff to arrive. But she had no choice, she couldn't let outsiders into her home, and if her daughter was discovered, they wouldn't get any good consequences. So she would always ask the staff to open a room nearby to do her makeup, and she would have to get up early in the morning and rush there. In fact, she could obviously live outside without coming back. She didn't come back very early that night, and it wasn't even bright when she left in the morning. But she always said she wanted to see her daughter. Gu Xiyan has been her spiritual sustenance in the past few years. She has been very busy recently. Even if she can't see her daughter when she is busy abroad, she finally works in Seoul and doesn't go home every day. She can't stand it no matter what. It's okay. At this time, she was also waving her hands carelessly. She had no makeup on her doll-like delicate and pretty face. She had some dark circles under her eyes, but she was still pretty. You. Aunt rolled her eyes and couldn't help but muttered. It's not like I didn't invite you to the wedding, and it's not like I don't have time. It would be nice to give you a generous blessing. If you don't go, I really don't know what you are thinking. Aunt. Before she finished speaking, Shang Zuoyan interrupted. She stared at her big, watery eyes, somewhat sullenly, and her little mouth was slightly pouted, looking a little aggrieved. Okay, no more talking. Her aunt had no intention of continuing and waved her hand to send her out. Regarding Gu Huiyan's affairs, as the aunt who takes personal care of her, she naturally knows something about it. In fact, the aunt always feels that she should tell others that she is her daughter after all. You can't even keep her existence from being known to others, right? But Shang Zuoyan was very stubborn and refused to tell Gu Huiyan no matter what. The reason, she always said it was for the good of all of them, saying that once the fact that they had a daughter was exposed, they would go back to being scolded before. Gu Huiyan is now married, and her career is booming. Why do she have to commit suicide when she has nothing to do? But actually, my aunt felt that she was a little angry with Gu Huiyan and didn't want to tell him. Although it was ridiculous, it felt like she was angry at Gu Huiyan for not contacting her in those 3 years, for giving birth to the baby all by herself, etc. She definitely has no right to be angry about this, but girls always have these unreasonable little emotions. He doesn't care about anything, tell him what to do, he doesn't deserve to be this father. At those times, his aunt would say that paper could not contain the fire, and he would know sooner or later. Shang Xuan would have said willfully that we would wait until then, and it would take 1 day to delay. In this regard, my aunt was helpless. Let her be. But having said that, Gu Xian will go to elementary school next year. It is really heartbreaking for a little girl to go to elementary school and still not see her father. Okay, I'm leaving. There was really no time, so Shang Xuan wrapped herself in a thick scarf and windbreaker and walked quickly into the cold wind. Hoo hoo. It snowed yesterday, and the cold wind blew. Even though she was wrapped quite thickly, Shang Xuan always felt like she was being penetrated by the cold wind. On the way to the hotel, she was alone. The distance was not far, but it was inexplicably calming. Looking at the snow on the street, she could occasionally recall the scene when Gu Huiyan came to Shu'er to look for her last year, the fried rice cakes they had eaten that day, the soju they drank, and the second half of Shan Shan he sang. But thinking of these things, she never felt better. In the middle of the year, Gu Huiyan's wedding invitation was delivered to her after traveling thousands of kilometers. To be honest, she was not surprised by this. It was a normal thing for two people to be lovers and get married and be blessed by everyone. But, she is willful and unwilling to bless others. Although she always pretends to be thinking in front of others, she is always unwilling to put on a mask when she is alone. She still wanted to think that she was the one handing out wedding invitations to everyone. So selfishly, even though she was not busy at that time and could go to their wedding, she chose to treat it coldly and did not go. She didn't want to watch Gu Huiyan holding Pei Jingshu's hand into the auditorium for the wedding. She couldn't stand it no matter what. She was afraid that if she went there, she would cause trouble and rob the bride. She really couldn't bear it. So, it's also for the best of each other. She used to be willful, but now she always wants everyone to be well, but sometimes she just feels regret weighing on her heart, making her breathless. It doesn't matter, she doesn't plan to see Gu Huiyan in the future anyway, this is how she comforts herself every time she thinks of this. At the right time, Shang Xuan was passing a traffic light. Shang Xuan. There were cars going back and forth and it was noisy, but for some reason, Shang Xuan heard someone calling her name. That voice sounded familiar, which surprised her, because it was Gu Huiyan's voice. When she turned back, she saw a car passing by but no one there. Have you heard hallucinations? Shang Xuan scratched her head, wondering if she had been too busy recently and didn't get enough rest. How could she hear Gu Huiyan's voice? Or are you thinking about something every day? She shook her head, turned around and continued walking. Shang Xuan. But there was a familiar voice coming from behind. This time Shang Xuan is sure that she heard it right. This is Seoul, not the country. Even if someone recognizes her on the street here, they won't shout Shang Xuan in Mandarin. Character. What's more, it's Gu Huiyan's voice. She wouldn't be able to recognize Gu Huiyan's voice even to death, okay. Because she had watched many idol dramas before, Shang Xuan knew very well that she and someone might be separated by a road or blocked by a car. So she stood still. Turn back. Stare at the traffic light railing on the opposite side of the road where cars are passing by. Fruit. No. That? Yes. After a few cars passed by, she saw Gu Huiyan standing next to the railing of the red light, holding his knees with his hands, wearing a black windbreaker and a scarf, panting. Shang Xuan was stunned at that time. She had a question mark on her face and a look of disbelief on her face. She never expected that she would see Gu Huiyan here. No, more to the point, why is he here? Maybe it was because it was so unexpected that Shang Xuan couldn't believe it. She thought she was dreaming, so she subconsciously stretched out her jade hand and pinched her thigh. Hiss. She gasped in pain and looked at Gu Huayan again. Nothing had changed. This was indeed not a dream. Zundu is fake. What the hell? Why did he come here suddenly? At that time, Shang Zuoyan felt guilty and flustered, but she was not stupid. Gu Huayan suddenly appeared one day, so she must have known something. It was precisely because of this that she was so frightened that she didn't even dare to look at Gu Huayan. What was funny was that she actually pretended not to notice Gu Huayan and looked left and right. After looking at it for a long time, he scratched his head, turned around and continued walking. Hey you! Gu Huayan, who was standing across the road waiting for the traffic light, was dumbfounded. He thought to himself, your acting skills are so bad and embarrassing. Also, your pace has obviously sped up and you can't even notice it. Don't you know how to do a full set of acting? Stop. The light just turned green at this moment, and Gu Huayan ran over after taking a few breaths. Hearing the sound of him running, Shang Zuoyan stopped pretending and started running with her bag on her back. It's a pity that no matter how good her physical fitness is, she can't compare to Gu Huayan. Gu Huayan was chasing her like crazy, and he happened to be chasing her in a small alley. Huh, you're running away. Are you going to run again? Gu Huayan grabbed her wrist, gasping for breath, and pointed at her nose with his index finger. It's you, I thought it was a paparazzi. Shang Zuoyan also swallowed and gasped, forcing a smile to find an excuse. Don't fart. Gu Huayan couldn't hold back his words at this time, and he didn't care whether the words were unpleasant or not, he said bluntly. Why did you see me running? Do you feel guilty? Do you feel guilty for being a thief? Gu Huayan's state was a bit strange. Shang Zuoyan was not sure why he came, but when she saw his state, she was immediately sure. Who has a guilty conscience? What are you doing? She tried hard to shake Gu Huayan's hand, but she couldn't shake it off. Gu Huayan held it too tightly, and even pressed her hands directly, pressing her against the wall in the alley. When people raise their hands, they will push up their chests. Although Shang Zuoyan was forced to do so, the two brothers Xiong and Daxiang also immediately pushed up their rather loose down jackets. But Gu Huayan doesn't have the heart to care about this at this time. 4 years. At this time, Gu Huayan gritted his teeth and his eyes were a little red. He was not as gentle as when he last saw Shang Zuoyan. Shang Zuoyan had never seen him like this. She has seen the down-to-earth Gu Huayan, the indecisive Gu Huayan, the gentle Gu Huayan. But he has never seen such ferocious Gu Huayan. In your impression, this guy doesn't look like that, does he? To be honest, what he said was 4 years instead of 5 years, otherwise Shang Zuoyan would definitely think that he was acting, and the next sentence would be, do you know how I lived these 5 years? Do you know? He would definitely not say this. Veins were popping up on his forehead. He gritted his teeth and asked Shang Zuoyan. 4 years, I have a daughter, I don't know. I don't know. Shang Zuoyan. Well, this outburst is not much different from a certain actor's 5 years. You're almost done. Do you think you're filming? Shang Zuoyan struggled hard twice. It was so cold that her armpits were frozen when she raised her hands. Does this person have no regard for other people's feelings? Although she was a little angry, as soon as she looked at Gu Huayan, she immediately lost her temper and looked away. First, let me go first. She tilted her head stubbornly, pursed her lips, and tried to keep her tone gentle. In fact, she doesn't want to be gentle at the moment. She, Shang Zuoyan, has never been a girl who won't respond when someone yells at her. She doesn't care who is right or wrong, just respond first. But who told that person to be Gu Huayan? Although Gu Huayan gritted his teeth, he still let go of her. He didn't say anything, just stared at Shang Zuoyan. So hard, it hurts me. Shang Zuoyan pouted and rubbed her wrists, looking aggrieved. Seeing that Gu Huayan didn't speak, she was a little scared, so she decided to change the subject and ask. You, how did you know? Who told you? It was too sudden. She thought that even if Gu Huayan knew about it, he would call and question him first. Who would have thought that someone else would just come over and kill him? Should you be asking this now? Is this what you care about? The corner of Gu Huayan's mouth twitched. He really wished he could push this woman to the ground and give her a good beating. Then what should I care about? Shang Zuoyan pouted, not knowing what to say. You, sigh. Gu Huayan sighed and held his forehead silently, looking helpless towards this willful woman. When Gu Huayan knew that he and Shang Zuoyan had a daughter, it was already a few months after their marriage. In fact, Jiang's mother reminded him of several rumors about Shang Zuoyan and her children at the beginning of the year, but he didn't take it to heart, mainly because celebrities usually have various rumors, and their credibility is not high until they are confirmed. What's more, he and Shang Zuoyan only met once, how could they be so accurate? Where is the person who told him? It's Siren. Xilan is not causing trouble. The main reason is that Gu Xian is 6 years old this year and will go to elementary school soon. It is too cruel for a 6-year-old child to have never seen his father. She didn't have any other intentions. Just like Shang Zuoyan's aunt, she felt that Gu Huayan should be informed. To be honest, this matter should have been told to him earlier, at least before his wedding, but Xilan felt that if she told him before the wedding, it was not certain whether the wedding could be held. It's not that she's afraid that the outside world will know, it's mainly that she's afraid of the psychological burden on this guy. When she was recording Crystal Love Season, the night before the finale, because she forcibly kissed Gu Huayan, the guy didn't feel right the whole day the next day. This is a person who has a strong sense of guilt when he does something wrong. He has been living so smoothly in the past few years, and now that he is about to get married, if you tell him about this, you are really going to make trouble. On the contrary, it was after marriage. They were already married anyway, so telling him at this time wouldn't change anything. And there's another point. In short, Xilan thought carefully and chose to tell him at this time. It is worth mentioning that after hearing the news, Gu Huayan and Xilan had a big quarrel. Since they met, the brother and sister have never quarreled. They have always been harmonious no matter what happened. But this time, the two of them had a fierce quarrel. At that time, they were still in a small courtyard in Xilan, Yunnan. And Hua next door went to break up the fight but failed to stop it. It was very late that night. Gu Huayan left overnight with his things. He didn't ask for an assistant. He just called the company and said that it was urgent to go abroad and put off the rest of the work. Then he immediately booked a flight to Seoul. Because I was in a hurry to go out, I bought the ticket from a scalper at a high price. In the past few days, Gu Huayan hasn't slept well, hasn't eaten well, has dark circles on his face, red bloodshot eyes, and his lips are a little white. There is no way. You suddenly learn that you have a 6-year-old daughter. How do you feel? How can you sleep? Are you so big-hearted? On the way, Xilan also called Gu Huayan to say sorry. Gu Huayan answered the phone at first, but then stopped. It's no wonder Gu Huayan was angry. Xilan knew about this in the first year after Shang Zuoyan left. Son, Xilan knew about her pregnancy from the beginning and never told him. What a fool to treat him as. As a government official, Gu Huayan really couldn't be that understanding. At least until he met Shang Zuoyan, he was unwilling to communicate with Xilan anyway. Speaking of which, he was also surprised that MD didn't know Korean, so he came here alone. It was not convenient for others to know these things, so he used his mobile phone to use translation software to inquire all the way here. Fortunately, he remembers directions very well and remembers where Shang Zuoyan's house was when he came here last year, otherwise he would not be able to catch up. She also thought about calling Shang Zuoyan on the way, but she was afraid that if she called in advance, she would be ready to run away. If she deliberately avoided Gu Huiyan, he would not see her, so Gu Huiyan planned to call when he arrived at her door. Who knows? As soon as I arrived at her door to make a call, I saw her going out from a distance. Gu Huiyan thought about it and decided to face it face to face instead of making some kind of phone call. So I followed all the way. Shang Zuoyan walked really too fast. She must have gone faster when she was in a hurry to grab makeup at the hotel. Gu Huiyan hurriedly caught up with him and managed to catch up. Just now, he fell because of the icy road and was slippery. There are still some dirty spots on the pants at this moment. Puff. Initially, I was quite touched by what I heard before, but when I heard that Gu Huiyan fell on the road, Shang Zuoyan really didn't hold back. Why, everything you do is so funny. This shameful and reckless eye-catching gesture is really hilarious. It is hard for Shang Zuoyan to imagine how Gu Huiyan can be so funny in such a segment where a female channel is like a domineering president. Can you please stop changing the subject? Gu Huiyan became angry and gritted his teeth, and glared at her. All right. Shang Zuoyan pursed her lips, flipped up her hair helplessly, shook her head gently and said, "Let's go." "Where are you going?" The corners of Gu Huiyan's mouth twitched, and he thought to himself, "You're not going to run away again, are you? Where else can we go? Go home and take you to see your daughter." Shang Zuoyan rolled her eyes at him. This guy has been here for a long time and knows everything. He has already talked about this. Can you not let him see him? She was completely defeated by this enemy, and today's work must have been ruined.